In this world where blessings decide everything, he got absolutely nothing. Even though he was the weakest in the world, he never thought of giving up. After 100,000 years of training, now they started calling him a monster. But maybe in this damned world, a monster will be better than some people? Let's find out. This story begins in the city of Ramor Fortress. There was a fight between teenagers in the street. Two were fighting, the others were chanting and egging them on. Finally, a winner emerged from this fight. He told his defeated opponent that he really was the weakling of this world. 2 years ago, in the city of Ramor Fortress, a gift ceremony was taking place at the local temple. Kai Heinemann and Reno Groth stood at the entrance to the temple and looked at the large line of people. They exclaimed how many people there were. All the people were standing on the way to the altar in the hope of receiving a gift. The girl excitedly told him that very soon they would be able to receive a gift at that altar. It was so exciting. The protagonist agreed with her. He said that he kept thinking about the gift yesterday and could not sleep. Reno replied that she had the same thing. They were excitedly thinking about what the gift would be. MC was delighted that this day had finally come, the day he would receive a gift as a divine blessing. He was going through all the options in his mind about what he could receive, because a gift is a special skill that all people receive at the age of 13 as a blessing from the gods. Gifts come in different forms. Some are skilled with weapons like a sword or a spear, some use magic, and some turn ordinary objects into precious ones. In general, it can be said that the gift he receives today will determine his future. Reno said that she could become a princess, well, or a rabbit, that's okay too. She is his childhood friend and she has always been such a free spirit. He told her that she would not become a princess, and not a rabbit either. The girl believed him and was upset. She asked him what he thought about himself, what gift he would receive. The protagonist dreamily said that, of course, something related to swords. In fact, it was his lie. He did not want any swords. His grandfather, who is called the Sage of the Sword, he was the one who wanted this. Grandfather wants MC to become the heir to the Heinemann family's sword art. But he himself wanted something different. His real wish was to obtain the gift to become a perfect hunter like his mother. Hunters explore lands and magical places all over the world. They fight monsters, and he wanted to be that hunter who would live in adventure. Besides, even if he received the gift of the sword, he has no talent for it, and his memory is so-so, and he is not among the strongest among his peers. His childhood friend interrupted his thoughts. She said that perhaps she will be a cat. The protagonist objected to her that there is no such gift. He smiled at the thought that if cousin Roman became the heir, it would be good. He is talented. At that moment, some kind of commotion occurred at the altar. The friends were puzzled. What could it be? Maybe someone received a rare gift again? They saw Layla Helna running towards them, calling their name. She was very pleased. MC said that she finished early, and Reno asked her what was the matter. Why was she so pleased? The girl answered them that, as she thought, she received the gift of a high-ranking swordsman. The protagonist thought that there was nothing surprising in this. Layla was also his childhood friend, the only girl in the city who could compete with the art of the sword Heinemann. In addition, she was his bride. All this was decided by their parents, without their consent. Next in line were Keach and Roman. The cousin approached the altar and received a gift, which shocked everyone. He approached Layla and tried to tell her about his gift, but the girl interrupted him, saying that she had seen everything and already knew everything. At that moment, a tall, stately knight entered the temple. He approached Layla, made sure it was her, and told her that he was one of the holy magic knights. He needed to talk to her about her gift. The knight asked the girl if she would have a few minutes for him. She became worried, because her gift was not as rare as Roman's. He told her that it was all because she was a daughter of the Helna family. Such heights cannot be achieved in a day. The gift of a supreme swordsman comes to someone who trained in martial arts every day. The knight added that he was not forcing her to do anything, but they had a base in Ramor, they should talk there. The protagonist was amazed by what the knight said. His bride was just incredibly lucky. Roman called her to follow him, and the girl, having said goodbye to her friends, left. Keach approached MC and apologized to him for his cousin, saying that he was just dizzy. The protagonist assured him that everything was fine, he understood everything, and advised him to keep up with them as well. At that moment, Kai called out to Reno. She exclaimed that the line had moved forward, and it was her turn to receive the gift. The girl received the gift of the holy sword. Stuttering with excitement, she exclaimed how wonderful it was. The knights standing nearby began to talk among themselves. One of them listed the gifts in amazement: the king of the spear, the master of magic, and now the holy sword. The second knight answered him that this year was crazy. The appearance of such high gifts means that the demon's powers have increased, and the demon's offensive is probably near. The highest rank pulled them up and asked them not to cause unnecessary panic. The knights apologized to him and fell silent. It was the protagonist's turn. He put his hand on the crystal, and something began to happen to him. He felt his body suddenly become heavy, and it was as if something was holding him back. He heard that there are some limitations in the gift, but why does the crystal light go out? The highest rank proclaimed with amazement that his gift is the weakest in this world. Sometime later, at the Romer training ground, a fight took place between Roman and the protagonist. He asked MC what was wrong with him, the weakling of the world? Someone in the crowd corrected him, saying that he was not a weakling of the whole world, but a weakling in this world. The cousin laughed in response and invited Kai to fight. Everything happened quickly. The protagonist received a blow to the forehead with a stick from his cousin and lost consciousness. When he came to, he saw the sky and thought, why is everything around so blurry? MC remembered who made him lose consciousness and how it all happened. The protagonist heard the worried voice of his fiancée. She was asking him how he was feeling. The girl wanted to help him up and sympathetically said that he got hit right in the forehead, and for sure, now he will have a bump. He pushed her hand away and told her that he was able to get up on his own. When he stood up, Layla started to apply ointment to his lump, but he assured her that he was fine, especially since he was used to getting punched. The protagonist thought bitterly that since the day he received the gift of the weakest in this world, such things had become commonplace for him. The gift of powerlessness consisted in the fact that his physical strength was rapidly declining, and no matter how much he trained, his strength only left him. At the training ground, he was worse than girls and children who did not practice at all. None of his former friends from training talked to him, and when they met his gaze, they beat him in duels. Blood and fractures had become normal for him. When he only had bruises or a bloody nose, he thought he was lucky. Strangers who knew about his gift pointed at him and laughed at him. Now in Ramor, he could count on the fingers of one hand the people who treated him like before, including his fiancée. He became the weakest and lost his position as the heir of Heinemann. That day, his engagement with Lila was also broken off. From now on, he is nobody, neither the heir of the Heinemann sword art, nor Lila's fiancé. He is simply the weakest, lower than anyone else. The girl continued to worry about him, but he told her that he was already fine. There was no reason to worry. She sadly asked him if he would soon go to the capital. The protagonist answered positively, because it was hard for him here, and in the capital he had hope for a normal existence. He believed that there would be a place there where he would be treated like a human being. Lila decided to support her friend. She expressed confidence that he would be able to find a job there. MC told her that although his mother also wanted him to find a job, he had other plans. In the capital there is a World Magic Academy, Wobble. There are those who do not have the gift, and there are the same losers as him. Well, maybe he will find a job there. The girl was sad about the upcoming separation from him, but she encouraged him that if it would calm him down, she would write him letters. He was embarrassed, like, no need. What did she come up with? But in fact, he was pleased with her concern. It was time for her to leave. She needed to pack her things, so the girl warmly said goodbye to him and left. The protagonist also needed to go to his grandfather, but then Roman called out to him. He told MC that he is actually the one with the gift of the King of the Spear, and there was no trace left of their engagement with Layla. Considering that he is also from the Heinemann family and the protagonist is from a side route, he has the right to be with her. MC objected to him that he was wrong. Only he had the right to be with this girl. And anyway, it was Layla who would decide who to be with. Roman exclaimed irritably. Why was he so self-confident? Did he really think that she would choose the weakest? Kai answered him that his cousin and he had completely different feelings for her, so he was worrying about it in vain. Roman started to get indignant, but the trainer called out to him, saying, "Stop chatting with this scum. Let him come back faster. They need to continue training." Why should he waste precious time on this lazy guy? The cousin shouted after MC, telling him not to approach the girl anymore, otherwise he will get it from him. The protagonist thought that he and the girl are like brother and sister. That is, he does not have feelings for her, but he loves her like a sister. Kai came to his grandfather with words of gratitude for the fact that he took care of him all this time. Grandfather thoughtfully said that he was very battered. He asked him for an apology. Kai was surprised. What was the grandfather apologizing for? The relative answered him that his engagement with the girl was broken off. It turns out that he is kicking him out of his home. The protagonist exclaimed that, even if so, he does not care at all. He saw the surprise on his grandfather's face and explained to him that his relationship with Lila had always been brotherly. His dream was to go to the capital, or Wobble, so he was not upset at all. Grandfather thought for a moment, exhaled loudly, and then chuckled. Looking at his worried grandson, he reassured him that he was just getting old. He added that sometimes he saw something incomprehensible in MC's eyes. But with such pure eyes, he should not have problems, so let him go to the capital and do what he wanted there. Kai did not expect that his grandfather would let him go so easily and thanked him warmly. He thought that his real dream was really not to inherit the art of the sword, but to go to Wobble, and his grandfather saw and understood this. He told him that no matter what gift he had, he was his family, and nothing would change that. He could always come back here to his home. MC started to object, saying that he didn't belong here anymore, but his grandfather interrupted him in a raised voice. He would come back to see him. He grumbled that his grandson didn't listen to him at all, to which the protagonist replied that he understood everything and would do everything as his grandfather said. Grandfather said that their conversation was over and asked him to take care of himself. The touched MC reciprocated. Kai got ready and set off. He thought with delight that finally it was his turn to go to Wobble, the place of all hunters. And maybe he had every chance to become an excellent hunter. Inspired by his dreams, he commanded himself to fulfill his dream and become who he wanted to be. When he arrived at the capital, he looked around for a carriage park. At that moment, a luxurious carriage drove up to him. He was surprised and thought, who could ride such a treasure? A girl came out of the carriage. She called out to MC and introduced herself as Rosemary. The protagonist was stunned. Her name was the same as the saint of the kingdom of Amelia. The girl continued that she would accompany him to the capital and added that he could call her Rose. At that moment, another girl appeared next to them. She approached the protagonist and hissed in his face. How could such a weakling show such disrespect? Rose called out to her, addressing her as Anna, and told her that she volunteered to accompany MC. She was disgracing her and his grandfather, the saint of swordsmen, with her actions. Anna bowed before her. Apologizing, Rose advised her to be more restrained. Another servant told the girl that Anna just wanted to protect her. Rose flared up so much that even the protagonist felt uneasy. She screamed that she knew what Anna wanted. Then she turned into a sweet girl again and with a smile invited MC to go quickly. The carriage is waiting for him. Stunned, Kai thought, aristocrats are like that too? But is it possible to ride next to such people? Rose invited him to sit next to her. Evening came. The protagonist thought that time flies in the capital. He went into a street cafe, hesitated, and the cook asked him not to linger. He gave MC a tray with meager food and said that this was an order from Lord Frankton. Surprised, Kai remembered that his grandfather told him that he would pay all the expenses for the trip. Maybe there was a special fee for the food. At that moment, he ran into a big guy, or rather, this big guy pushed him so hard that MC fell and hurt himself. He wanted to be indignant, but the man accused him, saying, "Why is this weakling pushing him?" MC tried to answer him again that everything was the other way around, but the big guy asked him irritably, was he laughing at him? He pushed the protagonist again, calling him a weakling. The crowd began to whisper, like, "Here it goes again." Someone answered that there was no need to pay attention to it. MC silently thought, what if he had an injury? At that moment, someone ordered the big guy to stop, and Kai was surprised to recognize Anna. The man asked her why she was protecting this weakling. She answered him that she was not protecting anyone, but it was an order from Mrs. Rose to accept him as a guest. There was a noise, and a young man with a large sword in his hands appeared in the center. He said that he was very hungry. At that time, the protagonist thanked the girl for saving him, but Anna answered him that if it were not for the order of the lady, she would not have covered him. She added that he had better return quickly. Meanwhile, the young man with the sword who had arrived thought that the locals were causing trouble again. He turned to the protagonist, addressed him by name and apologized to him. Kai was surprised to recognize him as Arnold. The young man continued that the rudeness of his people was his fault, and he again asked the MC for forgiveness. The protagonist asked him not to do this, and added more quietly that this happens all the time. Even in the capital, they see him as the one who got the gift of a loser. He has no choice. He has already gotten used to it. Arnold winked at him encouragingly and called the MC to his tent to get some food. The protagonist was embarrassed, saying that this would be too much, but the young man laughed, saying that they, children, need to speak frankly, and called him with him. They approached the tent, and Arnold asked for a lot of good food. The cook started to say that Lord Frankton had forbidden it, but the young man screamed that he didn't want to hear it and slammed his fist on the counter. Then he grabbed the cook by the clothes and ordered him to bring them food, and added that the protagonist should also get a portion. When the cook served them food, Arnold flared up that it wasn't enough. Let him add more food. MC, confused, thanked the guy, to which he asked him not to thank him. He had every right to do so, and already jokingly added that Kai was still a child, he needed to eat more to grow. He ordered the protagonist to eat properly, and he himself was going to go to Lord Frankton, saying that he needed to talk to him, and also asked MC not to worry about this man, that this would not happen again. Kai was surprised. So this is what kind of people there are in this world. 3 days later, in the large forest of Silka, the attitude towards the protagonist has changed. From that time on, they always put a lot of food on him, stopped bullying and beating him. He understood that all this was thanks to Arnold. After a while, he thought about his friends. He wondered how Reno was doing with her gift of the Holy Sword, and Kitch, who received the gift of a great mage. The guy said that he would go to study in the capital, and the girl joined the squad to fight demons. His thoughts were still about Reno when someone knocked on the door of his tent and asked for permission to enter. It was Rose. The protagonist allowed her to enter. She knelt down in front of him, and MC thought, why did she come to him? To be honest, it was a bad idea. If someone saw her here, they would start hating him again. He asked the girl about the reason for her visit. She suddenly cried and asked him for forgiveness. She heard about what happened. About what the knights did to him. Kai exclaimed that she had nothing to worry about. What happened, happened. Rose continued that she decided to go with him to the capital, and she asked his grandfather for it herself. The protagonist asked her why she decided to do this. The girl answered because he was a friend of Reno and Keech. MC was puzzled. She knew his friends. Rose explained to him that the chief court mage was her teacher, and Keech was also his student. And Reno was her closest friend. Kai was confused. She was studying with the chief court mage? Yes, she was definitely amazing. Maybe she really was a saint? A guess flashed through his head and he asked her, so she knew about him from his friends? The girl confirmed his guess, adding that Reno only talks about him. She laughed and continued that she knew more about him than about Keech. The protagonist was embarrassed. He was sure that now she knew all his stupid past. It became clear to him why she went with him. Rose told him that she wanted to meet someone with whom her friends were so close. MC asked her about Reno, how she was, whether she was coping in the squad. The girl exclaimed that it could not be otherwise. She had such an open heart, all the knights liked her right away. The protagonist was hurt by these words, but he said out loud that she had always been different from everyone else, and he could not help but worry about her. At that moment, Anna came to them and reminded her mistress that it was time for her to rest. He thanked her for telling him a lot. He was very interested. The girl assured him that they would chat more, then said goodbye to him and left. Kai thought about Anna. She scared him a little. His fatigue took its toll, and he went to bed. Suddenly, Arnold burst into the tent, which scared the protagonist a little. He apologized for coming to him so late. He just wanted to thank him. Seeing the puzzled expression on MC's face, he explained that he was grateful to him for talking to Rose after what happened. The girl told him that they were able to have a heart-to-heart talk, and he was very happy about it. The protagonist exclaimed that they had enough of thanking him. He was grateful to her for talking to him, a loser. Heart-to-heart. Arnold admitted to him that he of course was not like him, but he also had a bad gift, so he sympathized with MC. He added that he could only tell him about this. He needed to be strong, and all his efforts would be rewarded. The protagonist gratefully answered him that he understood everything. At the same time, in the mountains in the middle of the forest, Lord Frankton, Prince Gilbert's loyal servant, met with Lord Enns and Lord Zigniel. Lord Enns asked the Lord how they were progressing in their plans. Frankton answered him that everything was fine. They were in full combat readiness. They had an elite squad of the Empire. The siege of Black Panthers and ogres was not scary. Now that he and the Lord were together, not even a rat would run past them. As expected, a squad under the command of Lord Enns. The Lord turned to the squad leader that he had heard many rumors about him. He does not like unfounded arguments. Then he asked what was wrong with the princess. Frankton reported to him that Princess Rose had talked with a worthless traitor, but now she was resting. Then they would make a noise, they would distance the captain of the knights and the princess from each other. And then, following the plan, if the girl is disposed of, the next contender for the throne will be Prince Gilbert, supported by the Lord. Lord Zigniel objected, saying, "Betray the royal family they serve? For them, soldiers of the Empire, this is unthinkable." Frankton turned to him. He, the bearer of the gift of the Imperial sword, wants to say that they are shameless? The Lord replied that he would like to say so, but it would be rude of him, so he would better apologize. Frankton exclaimed that he knows nothing about them. All this is outrageous, and it would be better for everyone if he took his words back. Zigniel clarified, "Don't they want to buy the princess?" His interlocutor began to deny this. They just want to marry her off. The Lord smirked, saying, "It seems the princess will be their toy for the rest of her life." Enns interrupted their squabble, calling for a truce. The lords apologized to each other. They were all on edge now, and there was no point in their fighting, especially since they were on foreign soil. Frankton was about to leave, politely bidding farewell to his allies. Enns told them that he was counting on both of them. The prince's henchmen thought with glee that this time would soon come, the time to expel the princess from the country. With him was the best fighting force in the Glittenier Empire, 2 of the 6 commanders, so they definitely would not lose. That annoying princess would never become queen. If that happened, the aristocratic order would be destroyed to the ground. This would not happen. He was obliged to protect the aristocracy. A family with a long history of serving the royal court for a great cause. This is the truth of the Frankton family. He mentally recited his oath of allegiance to Prince Gilbert. At this time, the protagonist wanted to go to the toilet before going to bed. He left the tent and began to look for a suitable place. He went deeper into the forest, hoping to carry out his plan away from prying eyes. Suddenly he heard a noise that scared him very much. He saw a young man in front of him and thought, where did he come from? At night and in the middle of the forest, he didn't seem to be with them. MC asked him, does he live here? The young man in turn was also surprised by the appearance of the protagonist. He had no information that there was anyone else here. He answered MC that his presence here could be considered an accident. And the fact that he met Kai here, it wouldn't interfere with his plan. He could have some fun. The young man smiled maliciously, and the protagonist realized that he had better run away from here. The night stranger snapped his finger and asked him, does he want to run? Then let him run faster, otherwise it will be boring. His squad will destroy him. He released his sinister squad of demons on him. Kai ran as fast as he could and thought, what is this, and who is this man? Why did he unleash his demons on him for no reason? Why does he want to kill him, when he hasn't done anything to him? And besides, why him? The protagonist realized that he can't breathe anymore. His heart is aching, his head is aching and spinning, and his legs are already creaking. Without slowing down, he groaned. Why are his legs so slow at such an important moment? He asked his gift to give him a chance, at least now. He could already hear the tramp of monsters behind him. If they catch up with him now, he's finished. After all, he still has to get to Wobble and become a hunter. He didn't want his life to end like this. Why does this always happen only to him? It's all because of the gift of the weakest one in this world. It was the same in Ramor, in the carriage too, and now it's here, in this camp. Everything is repeating itself over and over again, and it's because of the gift that everything is going wrong for him. It would have been better if he had gotten the gift of a swordsman, and then he wouldn't care about these hunters. He could have stayed in Ramor. He would have become the heir to the art of the sword. Heinemann married Lila and seen Reno and Kitsch, lived a simple life of an ordinary person. And now his life will end in this deserted forest because of monsters. It would have been better if he had no gift at all. Suddenly the protagonist saw a waterfall in front of him, and thought in despair that that's it. He has nowhere else to run. Everything will end here. But suddenly he saw a light inside the waterfall. He had no time to think, and MC decided to enter this waterfall. He was not going to die in such a place. What happened next plunged him into complete amazement. After passing through the waterfall, he found himself in some deserted place. He looked around, not understanding anything. He was just in the forest, and now what? This can't be, and the entrance is nowhere to be seen. The protagonist chuckled nervously. Although he didn't understand anything, at least he was away from the demons, and he could rest a little. Maybe that cave was a trap? MC saw the only building here in front of him, and decided to go into it, rest a little in the shade. When he went inside, he was surprised to realize that he was in a temple. In front of him was an altar with a handprint on the screen and inscriptions. The protagonist came closer, saw the writing and the outline of the palm, and decided to put his hand on the print. At that moment, the space around him was illuminated by bright rays, and a system window appeared. It displayed information about confirming access for holders of gifts of divine rank and above, and an attempt to register Kai Heinemann as a player. The protagonist could not believe his eyes. His gift of the weakest in this world is divine rank? Surely there was some kind of mistake? This simply could not happen. Then a greeting and invitation to the divine test of the player Kai Heinemann appeared on the screen with a wish of good luck. MC pressed the continue button, and the rules of the game appeared in front of him. Rule number 1 stated that it was impossible to get out of here without finishing the game. Rule number 2 said that players who registered here do not age, since time in the other world is suspended. Rule number 3 consisted of the condition that the player would be given such items as an item box, the skill special assessment, fast boots, and an unbreakable stick. And finally, from rule number 4, he learned that the maximum amount of elixir that can be put in the item box is 20 cans. When the protagonist was able to think logically, he realized what kind of game this was, and this building dungeon. But such places are usually captured by a whole group of hunters. You can't cope here alone. However, time will be stopped everywhere, and even after clearing this place, he will return to the monsters again. He grabbed his head. It couldn't be like that, otherwise there would be no point in this. The protagonist tried to calm down and think rationally. The player will be given items, and one of them is an item box. At that moment, the same box with a list of the listed items appeared. He read the entire list and pressed the receive button. MC took out the fast boots to make sure that they really exist. Suddenly, they disappeared from his hands, and he saw them again in the box. The protagonist was delighted. Everything is real, and this box will be very precious to anyone. Took the boot again and realized that he became the owner of the appraisal skill. MC was able to see that the fast boots are shoes that have a high probability of helping him escape from the enemy. However, when the battle is started by the will of the owner, they will lose their effect. The rank of the item is excellent. Kai was shocked. He first learned that you can quickly run away. He thought, by any chance, is this a precious item? Then it occurred to him to evaluate his body, and he succeeded. He saw his data, his first and last name, age 15, health 3, mana 5, acquired skills gift. The characteristics of his skills stated that he had the gift of one who had the least ability. Although the power of the gift and the growth rate are the lowest, under certain conditions, it can be increased in all areas. The level of the gift is divine. Kai tried to rethink the information he received. Under certain conditions, it is possible to increase the power of the gift. This is somehow incomprehensible. Or does this mean that this is a gift that rewards for work? Since he did not understand much about the gift, he decided not to expect much from it yet. The protagonist decided to evaluate the next item. It was an elixir. He saw a stream of water from the wall into a container and realized that this was the source of the elixir. He thought that it would be in a bottle, but it just pours out like that. And all this flow is an elixir? How can it flow endlessly? MC decided to check how it works. He cut his hand and dripped this elixir on the wound. As if by magic, the wound on his arm healed instantly, as if nothing had happened. And only now did the protagonist realize how lucky he was to be here. He, who is called the weakest in the world, was able to obtain the item box and the appraisal skill. And he also discovered an endless fountain of elixir. For this, he would be welcomed into the Hunter's Guild with open arms, and then he would be able to become a hunter like his mother. Without thinking twice, Kai used the items, equipping himself to the highest standard, not forgetting to put the elixir in the box. He also took his knife with him. A stick is a stick, and a knife wouldn't hurt. Now all he had to do was get out of here. He went out into the dungeon and noted that it was very cool here. He should have calmed down and walked along the wall, as they wrote in the books. Everything was fine. He could, or at least he would try to do it, because these were the very adventures he dreamed of. The protagonist found himself at a crossroads. There was complete darkness all around, and he did not know where to go. Having decided to go on, he stretched out one hand for insurance and moved forward. At that moment, someone grabbed his hand and caused him incredible pain. It was a monster in the form of either a huge ant or a terrible spider. MC's brain feverishly tried to understand what was happening. He did not see anything. Who bit off his hand? A monster. And what is that flowing from his hand? Is that his blood? He became very scared. He pulled his hand out of the monster's mouth, screamed in a wild voice, and imagined a fountain of elixir. The skill worked, and he plunged into it up to his waist. After some time, his thoughts rushed from side to side. Where is he now? His mother was calling him. He needed to go to the capital. He had been riding in a carriage for a week. Then he was in the camp talking to Rose, and then when he came out of the tent, he was suddenly attacked by a man with red hair. That's right. He remembered everything. Everything was like that. He was happy about the source of the elixir, and that his skill had worked. Suddenly he remembered that this overgrown monster had torn off his arm, and in a panic he pulled it out of the source. Imagine his relief when MC realized that his arm had magically been completely restored. The tension left him. He fell to the floor and burst out laughing with joy. His arm was intact, and he had escaped from the monster. Kai looked at himself and thought with regret that no elixir would restore his clothes. Everything was torn and soaked in his blood. So this was not a dream. Everything that happened there really happened. But MC knew he had to go into the dungeon again to get out. This time, he was saved by chance. But what could happen next time? But there was no way out, and he had to try again. And the protagonist thought not with fear, but with despair. Why is this happening to him? He visualized the source of the elixir again and dove into it. It was the 7th day of his solitude, with only beetles and caterpillars around him. He was terribly hungry, but there was no food here at all. He turned his attention to the beetles, and his appraisal skill gave an insect analysis. A poisonous beetle is a very poisonous insect that dissolves in stomach acid and can instantly kill anyone if eaten. It also contains a lot of nutrients. The protagonist thought he really needed nutrients now, but there was also poison that could kill even a dragon. But he would die anyway. MC still did not dare to do this, and did not eat the bug. On the 15th day of his imprisonment, he realized that if he continued to drink only the elixir, nothing good would come of it. Despite this, he still decided to eat one insect and drink some more of this wonderful drink. Exhaling loudly, Kai muttered that he needed to eat something. An empty stomach was worse than hell. Suddenly, something began to happen to him. Everything turned red before his eyes, and he thought that his end had come. He was dying. After some time, he heard a system voice that he had met all the conditions for obtaining the skill, resistance to weak poisons. The protagonist could not believe that he was still alive. He thought that this voice was sounding in his head. The voice continued that the condition for obtaining the skill is to survive after someone has eaten a creature with poison. The rank is low. The conditions for increasing the rank are to survive even after eating 100 creatures with 1,000 lethal doses of poison. It finally dawned on him that he really got such a skill. The elixir came in handy, but MC's condition was disgusting, and he also had a very bad headache. But still, it seemed that he could not do without the elixir. He took a couple of sips, and his headache stopped thanks to this cool drink. He had a feeling that he was full, and this could not but please him, which meant that from now on he would not have problems with food. Although, is it good to eat only bugs? After some time, the 100th day of his stay in this place came. The system voice informed him of new conditions for obtaining the skill, resistance to weak poisons, survive even after eating 1,000 poisonous creatures. Having comprehended the information, the protagonist happily realized that now no matter how many poisonous creatures he ate, he would not die. A year later, his head began to spin from diligence in fencing. From loneliness, the protagonist talked to himself and his weapon. 10 years later, crosses were drawn on the walls of the building. This was MC's way of keeping track of the days he spent in this place. He still thought about his friends, but then he remembered that time had stopped, which meant that they remained the same as they were on the day of parting. Kai himself grew up, got stronger, and became a handsome young man. 40 years later, he was already a strong, handsome guy who drew imaginary opponents in his imagination and fought them. That day, he challenged his cousin Roman to a duel. Their battle in the protagonist's imagination was bright, intense. He showed all his skills accumulated over the years. Having masterfully completed the duel and defeated the enemy, he put a stick to his face and told him that he could now defeat him too. MC sighed tiredly, said that the imaginary duel was over for today, and thanked his cousin. The protagonist thought that he was able to defeat Roman in such a duel, and yesterday he was able to defeat the teacher, albeit a fake one. At that moment, the system voice informed him that he had received the skill Sword Control Beginning. The beginning of fencing practice with a sword can slightly improve his characteristics. Condition for obtaining the skill, every day for 40 years, simulate sword fights for about 12 hours. Rank, low. Condition for increasing the rank, every day for 120 years, simulate sword fights for about 12 hours. The protagonist was puzzled. Sword control, he had never heard of such a thing, but simulated battles, his imaginary battles are the same. If the beginning was written, it means that you can further increase the rank. Then he decided to continue in the same spirit. After 800 years, MC imagined stronger and more experienced opponents. These were the legendary heroes of the kingdom, a swordsman who controls swords like limbs, 2 swordsmen Graham, the strongest elf, combining sword and magic, a magician swordsman Shirba, and the old emperor of the sword from the empire Gletinir Ashvan. He decided to try to fight with such individuals. 1,500 years later, he indignantly shouted that everything was too easy for him, and suggested that the legendary heroes attack him all at once. 3,000 years had passed since the beginning of the game. Kai said that now he would start differently. He had defeated all his opponents, only he remained. He had surpassed even the Holy Sword. Now he was the strongest swordsman in this world. Sword control is the highest level. Now his strongest opponent was himself. The protagonist imagined a copy of himself and began to fight. He jumped, rushed, did somersaults and fantastic flips, fighting with himself but could not win. This means that all his efforts were not enough. It means he needs to do something different. He changed his behavior technique and eventually cut off the enemy's head. Finally, MC received the skill Sword Control, the highest level. Sword practice can improve its characteristics a little. Skill acquisition conditions, improve sword control every day for 3,000 years. He thought that the imaginary Kai of the highest rank was defeated. Now he also has the highest degree of sword control. If so, then he only had to go back. MC visualized the item box, opened it and took out bugs from there. He thought about eating them, because apparently he was here thanks to eating only bugs. Well, it's still better than nothing. Especially since the system window announced the skill Poison Absorption. Skill acquisition conditions, when attacking a creature containing poison, he will restore the same amount of health and mana as the amount of damage dealt. Rank, highest. The protagonist decided that so much time had passed, it was time for him to go back. He went out to the dungeon and enjoyed the familiar, cool air that he could not get enough of. Having started his path in fencing, waving a stick, he kept thinking how he would return here. He had already completely forgotten. It was even funny. Approaching the dark opening of the dungeon, the protagonist again saw the same monster that had injured him. Kai said that he was still here. Apparently he had been here for all 3,000 years. The protagonist used the assessment and learned that the monster's name was Grasshopper Man. But nothing else was known about him. Kai thought that an opponent he knew nothing about was very interesting. He thought that this monster would show him his way. MC decisively entered into battle with him. Striking at the enemy, he analyzed his actions, struck too directly, blocked too slowly. The protagonist realized that the monster also used his legs in the fight. He grinned and thought, really, a grasshopper, if he does such things. Having skillfully repelled all the enemy's attacks, he told him that it would be a pity to use his favorite technique on him, but so be it, he would show it to him. MC used the sword control skill, the first form, the line of death, and after several skillful attacks, he finished off this demon. Looking at the defeated enemy, the protagonist muttered that the battle with him was boring. At that moment, the system window gave a new characteristic of MC. Age was suspended, the indicators of strength, durability, intelligence, and luck were equal to 0.2 with an increase. It became clear to him that by defeating the enemy, he increases his indicators. He looked at his prostrate enemy and realized that monsters disintegrate from just one touch. It turned out that it is always better to use a sword during battles. The divine trial is the farthest space. MC looked around and noticed how free the room was, an awful lot of space, and each level becomes wider and wider. He looked into the item box and saw that there were almost no bugs left. But there were a lot of these insects swarming around the room. He assessed them as poisonous X12 bugs. The protagonist also noticed that there was a vortex of movement here. I wonder if it will lift him up right away? Kai looked at the new bugs again and thought that he would have to eat these no matter how disgusting it was. He moved to a new level of the dungeon and met a monster called a killer hornet there. The system voice informed him that the player's movement to level 10 was confirmed. The first test battle with the killer hornet was beginning. The protagonist realized that strong opponents were prepared for every 10 levels. Just when he was getting bored with that grasshopper, the long-awaited enemy appeared. Inspired by the upcoming battle, MC invited the enemy to fight. But then something happened, and the enemy disappeared from the hero's sight. While he was trying to figure out what was going on, an invisible enemy cut off his left arm. The protagonist felt sorry for his arm, but got angry and exclaimed that the pain was only on one side, so he didn't care. An invisible enemy is what's great for him. This monster is worthy of his murder. Kai enthusiastically parried the invisible blows, but then the enemy was visualized. He did it so quickly that MC was amazed at his speed. But the hornet only hit in a straight line, which upset the protagonist a little. The hero noticed that before a sharp movement, the monster needed to freeze in place for some time, as if it had told him not to touch him. The hornet pointed its sting at him, and MC wondered if there was something inside its sting. The monster shot some kind of liquid at him. The protagonist wondered if it was a ranged attack with poison. He used the third form sword control technique, Moon Mirror, and tested the consistency for a ranged attack. It became clear to him that there was no benefit from this, so he launched a counterattack with the Moon Mirror at the enemy. He realized that it was dissolved poison after all, but why didn't it work on him? The hornet was still alive, MC thought, even though he was a bug. He had pride, that's good. Kai used the second form sword control technique Speed Lightning because he was also a fighter, and he would also respond to him with the fastest sword technique. He entered into battle with the enemy, and finally, the hornet was completely defeated. The system window appeared again with information that the killer hornet was defeated. The first test was passed. This will give the protagonist special property. While MC was processing the information, something similar to a box or a treasure chest appeared in front of him. He opened the container and found the Flamberge Flame Sword, which used atmospheric magic to set everything it cut on fire. The item's rank was top-notch. Kai was surprised, a sword that set fire to everything? He had no problems with weapons, since he also had an unbreakable stick. He had the idea that he could fry those nasty bugs with this sword, then at least he could eat them normally. He decided that he would definitely try to do this next time, but now he needed to move on to the next level. Walking towards it, the protagonist saw that the entire floor was covered in boiling lava. Kai was inspired. This was something new. Now that was a challenge. All that was left was to figure out how to get forward through the lava, since he didn't have fireproof shoes. He thought about it, and decided that it would be a good idea to test his assumption. If something went wrong, there was a vortex of return nearby. The protagonist returned the fast boots to the item box. When he stepped on the lava, he felt a wild pain. MC jumped back. It was clear that he couldn't do it all at once. He drank the elixir, and he felt much better. He took it with him and tried to cross the lava again. Kai realized that he could already withstand 10 seconds in boiling lava. At that moment, the system window was activated again, showing that the protagonist had received the skill Weak Fire Resistance, which gives immunity to high temperatures. The condition for obtaining the skill is to touch something hot 50 times. The rank is low. The condition for increasing the rank is to touch something hot 500 times. MC decided that he would hold out until fire absorption, because time and elixir are not limited, and then he would run this place in one go. He succeeded. Fire absorption submitted to him. He reached levels 11 to 50 magma zone. Then there were levels 51 to 100 freezing zone, where he was frozen only when he was standing. The next levels 101 to 150 were the desert zone. He decided to bypass this trap. The next obstacles were levels 151 to 200 of the underwater zone, where MC finally learned to breathe underwater. Passing levels 201 to 250 of the wind zone, the protagonist noted that there was a very strong blizzard here. And finally, the last levels 251-300 of the light zone came, where the hero's eyes were very blinded. The protagonist, all battered by the trials, saw his skills in the system window. Now he had weak heat resistance, heat absorption, weak frost resistance, ice absorption, weak dust resistance, dust absorption, avoidance, identification, trap creation, underwater adaptation and breathing, buoyancy. He exhaled like it seems like he's done with stability, now he needs to move on. Wiping sweat from his forehead with something. The protagonist saw that he was using the Thunder Beast gloves for this, and he was wiping sweat with them instead of a towel. Kai heard something dripping somewhere. He saw that there was no stairs down. What did that mean? Suddenly, he saw another monster in front of him, the King of Thunder Tigers. He realized that this was the last test of the upper levels, and the battle with this monster was beginning. The protagonist dealt with the enemy very quickly. There was more noise, and he simply reeked of weakness, so Kai knew that he would deal with him quickly. He summed up that another monster was defeated, but what about that voice? There was something down there too, and the protagonist saw wildly huge fish there. He remembered the information that he would be given special advantages and thought, maybe he needed to go down there? And with the thought of what he was doing, MC jumped down. Underwater, he was surrounded by several huge fish monsters, and the protagonist entered into a fight with them. He felt great, so he easily defeated these incredible creatures. After the battle, he looked around and thought that it was a great battle. This was his first fight underwater, and he certainly had to work hard. But what should he do now? He needed to go back to the place from which he jumped. It seemed to him that this would be the first test of this level. When he got back, he heard a system voice, which stuttered that the tests of the upper floors were complete. The Thunder Tiger King was defeated, and a specially rare condition was obtained. Special benefits will be given. The protagonist was surprised. What was happening to the voice? Why was it stuttering? Chests fell from the fish monsters he defeated, and now Kai was wondering which one he should open. He chose the smallest one, opened it and found a magic book inside. The protagonist wondered if he would be able to use magic with his weakest gift in the world. He decided to figure it out later, and opened another chest. It contained the lightning sword, Nihonto, a sword from another world that was once used to kill the god of thunder. People said that with its sharpness, lightning could be cut. The rank of this weapon was legendary. MC took the sword and was surprised to realize that the weapon itself adjusted to his hand. Its handle was like a wooden sword. This was something new for the protagonist, and he felt that this sword would become his partner. 7,612 years had passed since the beginning of the game. Kai thought that this was where the Dragon Zone began. And this meant that it was high time to try out the new miracle sword. MC got to the underground level 350, where he was met by a dragon monster. The protagonist thought that this dragon was quite small compared to other dragons, but its eyes, they were somehow special, as if they were pressing on him. MC thought that he really was not like the others. The monster said that the 8th trial, killing the golden dragon Fafnir, was starting, and he invited him to fight, adding that the protagonist could do it if he pushed himself. Kai accepted his challenge. He felt his blood boiling, and a battle began between them. The fight was short. No matter what Kai did, he lost this fight and accepted complete defeat. All his attacks were useless, but still, defeating this dragon became his goal. He visualized the source of the elixir and placed his tormented body there. The protagonist still could not get used to how quickly the blood stopped and all his wounds instantly healed. He began to think, according to the rules of the game, the problem is in the ineffectiveness of the physical. If not with a sword, then what, besides physical means, could defeat this dragon? It occurred to him that there must be something in that magic book he found in the chest. He took it out of the item box and began to study it. The protagonist thought with annoyance that there was a lot of stuff in it. It was good that it was for beginners. He found what he thought was what he needed. The book said that in order to use magic, it was necessary to make a contract with the magic book. Although the magic book itself is a book, it does not need to be read. According to the contract, all its contents will appear in the memory. If someone wants to read it, the barrier will be triggered, which will damage the memory and cognitive functions of the brain, or in the worst case, lead to death. The protagonist thought bitterly that because of his gift, he cannot make a contract with the book, he cannot get magic in the right way. He had nothing else to do. He decided to read it and keep the elixir with him. His time is not limited. Before opening the magic book, MC took a couple of sips of the elixir, and at that moment, the system was activated. It reported on the skill Low Resistance to Magic Poisoning, simplification of deciphering magic books, zeroing out lethality from reading. The condition for obtaining the skill is the translation and understanding of more than 100 types of ancient hieroglyphs. The rank is average. The condition for increasing the rank is the translation and understanding of more than 500 types of ancient hieroglyphs. The protagonist was interested. Resistance to magic poisoning? Now it was clear to him, the headache and nausea were from magic poisoning. But since resistance appeared, it should become a little easier. 7,673 years have passed since the beginning of the game. The protagonist was sitting among many books on magic. Over 60 years he began to understand magic a little. It has ordinary and special properties. All but the basic and higher ones belong to the special category. Mastering ordinary properties did not belong to his gift, but innate talents are necessary for using magic. Someone without talents would not be able to make a contract with the Book of Magic, and no matter how much a person trained, he would not be able to master its contents. Without a contract, he would not be able to obtain ordinary properties. But there is also a concept of magic without properties, in which an object, the human body, is filled with magical power, and then this power is used. In this case, no innate talents are needed to use magic, and this was available to him. This was great. It meant that he could become stronger. 8,167 years had already passed since the beginning of the game. There was still a little time left until the resurrection of the dragon monster, and the protagonist asked him for a minute of attention. He needed to share with someone a fact he discovered when reading medical books. After all, the human body is a cluster of a huge number of cells, each of which is a tissue that forms the necessary elements. Strengthening the body and superfast healing from magic without properties involves the use of magical power on several tissues at the same time. And if it is possible to direct magical power to the nuclei of each cell separately, in theory, long-range attack methods should make it possible to use pseudo-ranged magic. At this point, the dragon woke up, and raising its head, it let out an ominous roar. The protagonist thanked the universe that monsters need time to recharge. Then he turned to the dragon and apologized to it for becoming another punching bag for him. When the monster began to attack MC, it used the power of enmity with non-magic amplification. The dragon released a wave of fire at him, but Kai put his hand forward and realized that the enemy's breath no longer inflicted wounds on him, and there was no need to use super regeneration. Then MC took his sword and used magic enhanced by the weapon, magic armament. He combined magic and weapons at the molecular level. Now that the sword is literally magic, it can strike. Kai, with some regret, told the monster that he felt sorry for him, but he would receive a blow from the maximum power blade. He finished off the dragon with one blow. The protagonist noted that from the blow of this sword, the upper part of the monster simply evaporated. Now Farnier was just a bug for him. Thanks to the research magic Divine Eye, which allowed him to track all creatures and objects within a radius of 500 miles, he saw that two had appeared behind the wall. But they were weaker than the previous one. These were clearly not those on whom he would like to waste magic, and he prepared deadly crystals for them. 11,065 years have passed since the beginning of the game. The protagonist received the skill, Ultimate Mastery of Throwing Kairyu. Thus, little by little, his long-range attacks became perfect. He received the title of Dragon Slayer. He did everything he could, he just had to trust in fate. Now his characteristics were impressive. Divine Gift, Health 8,000, Dragon Slayer title, the last of the titles, Strength 3,214, Durability 2,955, Intelligence 3,428, Magic Resistance 3,026, Luck 1,020, Received Magic Weapon, Super Fast Healing, Divine Eye. Skills, Infinite Item Box, Special Assessment, Perfect Mastery of Throwing Kairyu, Poison Absorption, Immunity to Magic Poisoning. Only high-level skills were displayed. He thought that he was incorrigible. But at that moment, the Golden Dragon woke up. He hissed that Fafnir was immune to attacks, he would not lose. The protagonist chuckled at his words. Well then, the 8th trial, killing the golden dragon Fafnir, begins again. The monster looked into his eyes. MC said that he hated his eyes. How long he waited for this day to look into them again and see his fresh blood. His love that lasted for 3,500 years, he fell in love every day over and over again, and almost drowned. The protagonist used the magic weapon and exclaimed that he dedicated this technique only to him. The golden dragon Fafnir, he did it exclusively because of him. Does he even know how his heart is pounding? He waited for so many years. Every day he thought only of him, of his clear, like crystal in the twilight, eyes and shining golden scales. He longed for love too often and saw their sweet meeting in his dreams. How many times did he think he would go crazy? Fafnir, Fafnir, Fafnir. Now let the monster show how blindingly scarlet blood can spurt out of his body, and how a beautiful cry of despair will sound from his mouth. Let him show how his dragon guts fly apart on the gray stone floor, and he himself will suffer in agony, writhing and suffocating. He offered him to start a duel, and they will do it fairly. The dragon looked at MC in shock, and then hissed that he surrenders. Kai was shocked by his behavior, but he did not want to agree to this because he had not yet used his sword. His sword had been waiting for him for so long to meet the dragon, and this meant that whether he wanted it or not, he had to. And suddenly the dragon burst into tears, which discouraged the protagonist. He shouted something like, in order to fight him, he studied magic for 3,500 years. Why is he crying now? At that moment, the system notification went off that the 8th trial killing the golden dragon Fafnir was completed, and they congratulated him. Now they received a special advantage when the enemy accepts defeat unharmed. MC was angry. He asked why everything was like this, why it wasn't done like this, who was this dragon anyway? The system said that since he won, his special advantage was the dragon stood up and looked like he wanted to be friends with him. He wanted Fafnir to be his friend? The protagonist was surprised. The dragon wanted to be his friend? It didn't quite look like that. Such a huge creature couldn't follow him. After all, this was a dungeon. Maybe it was able to change shape to accompany him? Kai took a closer look at the monster, and it seemed to him that this creature could speak human language. MC was even calmed by the anxious female voice he heard. Or maybe he had a problem with his head. After all, he had spent 10,000 alone years. He decided to take a risk and pressed the button to agree to be friends with the dragon. The monster seemed to evaporate and take on a small size. A few minutes later, a girl suddenly appeared before the protagonist's eyes, introducing herself as Fafnir and calling him her master, adding that she was very glad to meet them. MC stood there like a pillar and thought that she was somehow small, or not. As a special privilege for overthrowing Fafnir, he received a set of clothes, a cloak, clothes, and shoes of a dragon. The fabric is made from parts of legendary dragons. He heard somewhere that it will not wear out even after 100 years. He exclaimed that there was nothing left of the clothes he was wearing, so he was grateful for such an outfit. Fafnir asked her master what to do with his old clothes. Can they be thrown away? He answered her that it is not such trash. Since they were together now, let her remember that he had an infinite storage of items. Let her put his old clothes there. The girl was surprised. Why, since he would never take them out again? He said that maybe it would be so, but just in case, he made a mark on them so as not to throw them away by mistake. The protagonist suggested that the girl go back to the first level. They could look for something there. They went out to the first level, the above-ground one, and a house appeared in front of them. He looked at the girl's stunned face and explained to her that he made it from materials collected in the dungeon. They would be able to have a good meal there. He advised her not to make such a surprised face. They went into the house, and the protagonist showed her a piece of meat that fell from a thunder cow on level 290. The girl winced and told him that it had been there for so long that she would feel sick. He told her in response that she only looked cute, but she said all sorts of nasty things. He showed her the sword and said that this thing had fallen into his hands a long time ago. It was the flame sword Flamberg, but it had never been useful in battle. Finally, now it would find a use. MC used Karyu cooking art, sword-style secret technique. After several manipulations, a fried piece of meat was waiting for them, ready to eat. It gave off a fragrant smell. Kai said contentedly that for such a crust, even 10 years would not be a pity. The girl was delighted with the look of the dish and asked him if she could start absorbing this masterpiece already. The protagonist answered in the affirmative. He added that the only seasoning was salt. He also paid attention to this. Levels 107 into 180 are filled with water, and probably, because of the different monsters living there, the quality of the water is different. It was from that seawater that he created the original salt. He served her meat. Fafnir absorbed it so quickly that she almost ate his hand along with the meat. He shouted that it was no longer a steak, let her give him his hand, he still had to cook, so he couldn't do without his hand. The girl muttered that her master was also delicious. She devoured the meat with both cheeks, periodically repeating how delicious it was. He told her that he was glad to hear it, and he, as he knew, drank the elixir before eating. He himself ate with a huge appetite and thought that there was nothing unusual in the food he had prepared, but for the first time in 10,000 years it was especially delicious for some reason. Something inside him had been lost for these years, but suddenly, completely unexpectedly, as if by itself, it returned to its place. It was such an inexplicable feeling. And the obsession and anxiety that had controlled him until that moment disappeared, like shadows dissolving in the rays of the setting sun. Faced with a golden dragon, he longed to spill blood. But now, seeing her dazzling shy smile, he no longer felt it. MC said out loud, maybe it was one of the 4 privileges. Fafnir asked what he was talking about. He explained that they were both in a winning situation now. After a while, they came to the underground level 400. 13,000 years had passed since the beginning of the game. A huge big-nosed monster appeared in front of them. Fafnir was surprised to notice how long its nose was. The protagonist agreed, saying that he had read about it. This monster really was like an elephant. Girimakala shouted furiously. He had reached such a level. He introduced himself and noted that he was, without a doubt, the most evil demon. MC said, according to him, he was the most evil demon. What did she think about this? Fafnir silently reached for the armor and seriously confirmed she would lay him down so well. The protagonist noted that she reminded him of someone. She assumed, probably him. He sighed and thought he would be like a parent, setting an example for her. MC called out to the demon and ordered him to surrender now, then he would spare him. He did not want to kill him. If he was not attacked, he would forgive everyone, from insects to dragons. Girimakala roared furiously. He was an insolent degenerate. He was a servant of Mara, the greatest lord of this world. He was the first one she had favored, and he was the one who would most likely take the place of the creator among the gods in the future. He, a pitiful lower god, should not even have the opportunity to talk to him. How dare he demand anything from him, the most powerful warrior of Mar? He is not even worthy of having his remains here. MC threw aside the skewer with meat, with one swing of the sword delivered a powerful blow and said, he talks a lot and it is annoying. If he had refused right away, at least his bones would have remained. But there was a lot of noise. Fafnir happily said that she never doubted him. She understood. This is how you should kill, right? The protagonist stopped her and noted that she strives to kill anyone. The girl replied that she is hungry. MC went to the chest and replied, he will cook meat. He pulled out an item called the Book of Victories. The description said that the souls of creatures defeated in divine trials are stored in the book, which allows them to be summoned in the future. To use, a contract must be concluded, after which the one who has concluded the contract will be able to summon and control creatures until the contract is updated. Item rank, highest. The protagonist noticed that a top-rank item fell out of the chest. Was it really the boss? A system window appeared with a suggestion to add Girimakala's soul to the catalog. Fafnir immediately pressed the button and MC shouted discontentedly, let her not press everything she wanted. She replied that she wanted to press the buttons. After that, the book rose into the air and a demon was added to one of the pages. The protagonist said in surprise, this is how creatures are added, and he will be able to summon them? This is an interesting book. He thought about it. He should try to go through the first level again and add everyone to the catalog. MC called out to his companion and warned that they would return to the top, because he wanted to check something. In response, Fafnir only said that she was hungry. The protagonist replied discontentedly that he already understood. She still needs to eat a lot. After some time on the first level, the girl asked him with a smile, what is he doing? MC explained that he was going to summon Girimahalu, whom they caught. Fafnir noted, this is the one he dealt with. This monster still has a nose like that. This is the one he killed. The protagonist answered discontentedly, ladies do not say killed. He stretched out his hand forward and shouted that he was summoning him from the book in his own name. Let this demon be freed. In an instant, a portal appeared on the ground and Girimakalu appeared. He looked around in bewilderment and asked where he was. Suddenly, he saw 2 guys and shouted, he is that newly made god. MC explained that he summoned his soul from the book. From now on, he serves him. The demon immediately got angry. He categorically refuses. Who does he think he is? The protagonist noted that he still did not listen to him. He took out an unbreakable stick and with a wild smile said, he will follow him. Maybe killing him 10,000 more times will make him more submissive. After 51,000 years, the protagonist ordered the demon to stand up. Girimakalu stood up in a flash and saluted him, wishing him good morning. MC hit him in the face with a stick and pointed, too slow. He told him he should answer earlier. The monster immediately fell to the ground and began to apologize. The protagonist asked, "What's wrong with him?" Girmakalu shouted that he was just a trash bug crawling on the ground. The protagonist asked, "Are trash bugs better than him or something?" The demon shouted, "No way, he is the most hopeless bug here. He's even worse." Suddenly Fafnir woke up and wished them good morning. Girmakalu excitedly accidentally called her a trash bug and added that he was a trash bug. MC hit him in the face with a stick again and shouted, "Too slow." He told him that he shouldn't speak like that in front of her. Fafnir called him a trash bug and wished him a good morning. The protagonist shouted in displeasure, "Let him look, now she calls him that too." She added that she is also a trash bug. The protagonist shouted, "Because of him they are all bugs now. As punishment, let him do 50,000 push-ups." The demon obediently began to do push-ups from the floor. An hour later he finished and MC pointed out, "Now they are going underground to fill out the book further." He wants to try this too, what he found yesterday. Girmakalu asked, "Is this another item for increasing strength?" The protagonist explained, "These are the gloves of the divine seal. At his own will, he will be able to reduce his strength. By reducing his strength to the limit and almost dying, and then winning, you can increase your characteristics." Fafnir noted with a smile, "But by losing, of course, you can die." The demon thought in bewilderment, "Well, he is definitely in trouble in the head." The protagonist ordered him to clean the house and cook food before he returned. Fafnir eats a lot, so he is counting on him. Girmakalu obediently agreed, and they set off. After some time, 65,000 years have passed since the beginning of the game. At the underground level 700, the protagonist was surprised to notice that there are no trees or stones, only a scarlet sky. This is just an empty level. Fafnir pointed to the side and said that there is something there. MC thought about it. In fact, this is a zone where it is 200 degrees. One stay here will lead to death. He agreed and asked if this is the boss. Phoenix was sitting inside the blazing zone, who noticed that there are new faces here. Someone has reached this level. The protagonist thought about it. Because of the gloves, the skills have decreased. Now he cannot estimate the strength of the enemy. Previously, only at one meeting could he find out the rank. Can he kill him? Maybe yes, maybe not. The higher the rank, the more invisible the intentions. If they are not visible, is he strong? Should he take off his gloves or something? However, if he turns out to be weak, he will waste the experience. He called out to the girl and asked what she thought. Fafnir replied that he looked very appetizing. The protagonist hadn't noticed before that she liked chicken. He'd heard something else, only he didn't mean the cooking, he meant something else. MC made a remark to the girl, "She is a lady. How can she eat so much?" She answered him that he just looks delicious. Phoenix could not understand what these two were talking about. Kai exclaimed that no matter how you look at this creature, he is still a huge bird. The monster was indignant. Who did he call a giant here? The protagonist calmed him down, saying that he just said it that way. He exclaimed the word ingredient and the monster thought, "What kind of word is that? Unforgivable, what disrespect for the divine bird Phoenix." The monster screamed that he would not forgive him. It was a gross disrespect for a person like him. Fafnir activated the Iron Dragon armor, equipped herself in it, and told her master that she would deal with this. The protagonist noted that she just wanted to eat him. The system window that appeared again notified him that the test to overthrow the Phoenix was starting. Kai thought, "It's been a long time since they heard." The monster exclaimed, "Is this about him? Let them not hope, it will not save them. Let them ask for forgiveness before his hellfire." The girl answered him that he underestimated her armor and called on the rumble of the earth and heaven to help. She attacked the Phoenix, delivering a lion's blow to the creature, then repeated her move, and the bird was finished. The delighted protagonist told her that she did everything just fine. And most importantly, today she was able to pronounce the names of techniques without mistakes. Fafnir asked her master to prepare food. He was just about to roast the Phoenix, but the monster caught fire on its own. Kai was surprised to see that it was regaining its shape. But how could that be? The girl had killed it well. The creature acquired its own body and growled that it was impossible to destroy. It could be reborn at least tens of millions of times. The protagonist wanted to ask the girl to destroy it again, but then a great idea came to him. So, with a bird that cannot be killed, you can do something different. The bird grumbled that this approach was annoying. The protagonist thought that his blood had not boiled like this for a long time. Now he would check how unkillable this monster was. Then his actions followed his thoughts. He thought that first he would pull out all the insides of this demon alive, and then he would spread it all out, right down to the nail on his little finger. He thought and did all these actions. Then he crushed it and turned it into the smallest fragments. The bird kept talking so that he wouldn't get carried away. The girl was actually watching all of this. Having thought with interest until what point this demon would be able to breathe, MC delivered his final blow. He couldn't believe that he had succeeded in doing it. For the monster to die, it turned out that it had to be crushed like this. The system said that it confirmed the fact that the phoenix was hit. The protagonist kept looking at the crushed pile and couldn't believe it. Didn't the monster say that it was reborn? He noticed something glowing in the pile, picked it up, and the system immediately notified them that the soul of the immortal phoenix bird had been found. She asked MC if she should add it to the catalog. The protagonist got angry. An immortal bird. He hit the monster's soul and screamed, "Where is he immortal? All he can do is talk." And so he just gave up? He could have held out for at least 10 years, the bad bird. Fafnir looked at him with wide eyes, and MC realized that he had made a mistake. He told her that such words should not be said. He showed her now how not to say them. He showed it especially for her. She answered him that she saw right through him, and realized that he had simply gotten carried away. He began to object to her, but no, he just wanted to show her, because she was a lady, and saying such things would be a mistake. She thought that for him, the daddy, it was also a mistake. But out loud she said that she understood everything, and added that he was a bad owner. The protagonist stroked her head, thinking that he was a bad daddy, and called her home. The girl exclaimed affirmatively they would go back to the garbage bug. MC thought that upbringing was a complicated thing. The next day, the protagonist and the girl were sitting at the table and having breakfast. Fafnir thought about herself and her life. Her name means dragon, but not a regular one, but a divine one, and she has been in this dungeon for so long that she no longer remembers why. Apparently, someone entrusted her with guarding this place, so she was there all the time and waited for the one she could fight to come. And then her master, Kai, came. He destroyed the wall behind her with just one swing of his sword, but barriers were placed on her, so she had nothing to fear. However, he seemed very scary, and then she remembered what she had been told. She was told that one day someone would come who would free her, and when that meeting happened she would follow him. Then she began to live with the master. They became friends, and he stopped being so scary. He was very kind and cooks deliciously. She thought warmly about how for the first time in a long time she had someone to talk to. Eat deliciously, and be under the care and care of. Now she is happy and joyful, and has almost forgotten how lonely she was. She has come to love her master very much. From now on, they will always be together. Seek adventures together, train together, read together, and sleep together. Fafnir realized that she had eaten her entire breakfast and asked the master for more. He had cooked it so deliciously. The main character was pleased to hear this, and ruffled her hair. He said that thanks to her, his level of cooking had improved a lot. He noticed that she was still eating breakfast, and it was almost lunch. It was time for them to move out. She frowned, but he continued that he had packed her lunch to take with her, and the girl immediately cheered up. They left the house and saw their squad in front of them. Jirimakalu greeted them and said that he had news. From today, 2 more of his followers would join the master's squad. The new allies said that they were happy to serve MC. He replied that he was also happy to see them, and was counting on them. The whole squad wished him a safe journey. He ordered them to prepare dinner and a bath by the evening when he returned. The allies were happy to fulfill his request. He called the girl and they set out. Fafnir thought that the monsters respected her master, and when he praised her, she felt very happy. Having arrived, the girl honed her skill in a fight with monsters. Finally, she shouted that she succeeded, and she did it. Again, she managed to do it in one blow. She liked it so much. She noticed that Ui did not hear her. He stood immersed in his thoughts. The girl called out to him. He shuddered in surprise, looked around the battlefield and praised her, saying that again she managed to do everything in one blow. She was indignant that she was not such a glutton. But she was upset that sometimes her master looked very lonely. She remembered a recent incident when she woke up in the middle of the night and saw that the protagonist was not next to her. Fafnir thought then that she was left completely alone again, and although her master would definitely not do this to her, she still thought the opposite, jumped out of bed and began to look for him. Passing by the balcony, she heard the name Lyle. Looking out, Fafnir saw that the master was standing outside, leaning on the railing and peering into the distance opposite the dungeon, where almost nothing can be seen. From time to time, she saw his sad face and simply watched him. He said a name unknown to anyone and did it as if it was very dear to him. Every time she heard this name, the protagonist seemed to go somewhere far away into the unknown, and she could not stop crying. And now, he was very lonely and thoughtful. The floorboard creaked under her, and MC saw how she was crying. He asked her why she was crying. Did she have a bad dream? She confirmed his words and he answered that he sometimes had such dreams too. Kai calmed her down and sent her to bed. Tomorrow they would go to the dungeon. When they lay down, the girl asked her master, would he always be by her side? He answered that he was. Fafnir asked him again, would he never leave her? The protagonist assured her that this would never happen, he would never leave her. He would never lie to her, she knew that, right? She answered in the affirmative. Then Kai asked her, had she ever lied to him? The girl exclaimed that she would never and never lie to him. He asked her again, had he lied to her? And when she answered that she had not, the protagonist hugged her and said that he always told her only the truth, so he promised her they would always be together. Fafnir was incredibly happy. She thought that she loved her master very much. He promised her that they would always be together. She calmed down and was so happy about this that she immediately fell asleep. But before she fell asleep, she managed to think, if only this happiness would last forever. Congratulations, divine trial completed. MC came out of the dungeon, together returned to its previous state. He remembered everyone he had once defeated, saved, and those who sided with him. He remembered how it all began on a trip to the capital. He remembered how he wandered into the dungeon of the divine trial, that a red-haired man with mysterious black monsters was chasing him. To get out of the dungeon, he needed to clear it. Fortunately, while there, he stopped time outside while killing tens of millions of monsters. He did not believe that he had left the dungeon. MC thought that 100,077 years should have passed, and he had not even aged. Next to the hero, as always, were two Fafnir, another form of a dragon, and Astaroth, the final boss. They were both bosses in the trials that MC passed. Fafnir said, looking at the owner, that he was strange. Astaroth was surprised that the owner did not want to return to the previous world. The protagonist remembered the test when he met Astaroth, how he wanted to smear the enemy. Astaroth did not understand what kind of characteristics are these. Although he is the final boss, he's still a cowardly mage who saw the MC statuses and gave up without a fight. Fafnir saw that someone came and told the owner about it. Kai saw a red-haired man in front of him and his monsters surrounded them. The man asked about the fact that there was nowhere to run now. Kai remembered that this was the same red-haired man from whom he ran away into the cave. In his memories, this man was strong, but he did not look strong at all. The man asked about Kai coming with friends. It seemed to him that they were funny girls. Kai's assistants were angry that they were called that. They simultaneously shouted that they wanted to kill this man. The protagonist stopped them and said that he would deal with the man himself. He wanted to ask him something and said that everything was fine. Kai believed that his divine seal gloves should work. The man directed his monsters towards Kai and was surprised that he was counting on some gloves. The man was sure that Kai did not understand what situation he was in. The protagonist was confident in his strength because he did not even have to waste his sword on the man. He struck a couple of blows and the fingers on the man's hand became like squiggles. He screamed in pain and commanded his monsters to attack faster. Kai used true swordsmanship, after which the monsters were cut into small pieces. He asked this monster not to come closer. He did not calm down and commanded the monsters to attack again. Kai used a deadly line and killed the remaining monsters. Astaroth confidently said that such a small fish is not considered an enemy. It was an instant kill. Fafnir rejoiced in her victory. The man sat tied up and was upset about his hand and the monsters he had killed. The man with red hair was wearing the mark of the Imperial squad. Fracton, a nobleman from the Amelia Empire, was involved in this. He planned to kidnap the first princess, Rosemary Lotho Amelia. The Emperor's sword, Zignal Gastria, and the summoner Ens were sent to carry out this plan. That was why the man from the Imperial summoner squad was wandering around these lands. The protagonist felt that he had to protect Princess Rosemary, but would he be able to defeat the Emperor's sword on top of that? Astaroth carefully asked MC if he was thinking about something bad. Fafnir was burying the red-haired man in the ground at that time, and only his head remained outside. She said that the master had this look when he was excited. Kai was sure that he wanted to fight the Emperor's sword. They opened the master's victory book and leafed through it to choose warriors to fight. They chose the grasshoppers. It was necessary to act to distract the Imperial troops. Kai explained to the warriors that their opponents were summoners in black robes, and they could be killed without hesitation. Astaroth was surprised at how the master was able to tame the monsters from the dungeon. The grasshoppers received the order and moved forward to meet the enemy. Fly and crush them. The warriors in robes ran in different directions. The grasshoppers bravely fought the warriors in robes. Somewhere in the tent city. In one of the tents, the princess heard a noise outside. Anna ran inside and shouted, "Enemy attack! Get ready!" The princess asked her assistant, "Who is their enemy?" Anna replied that they were people from the Empire. There was a traitor among the guards. The princess said that they must leave quickly. But her assistant did not know where to run. They came out of the tent and saw that all the guards were dead, and warriors in black robes stood nearby, led by Lord Fracton. The princess was outraged that Lord Fracton betrayed the kingdom. She did not want to believe that her brother betrayed her. Lord Fracton said that if Princess Rosemary married the third prince of the empire and Prince Gilbert ascended the throne, the homeland would be safe. The Lord did this, thinking about the kingdom. The princess was outraged that if the Lord harmed his people, he was a traitor. At that moment, a warrior appeared nearby and said that he would not allow this. The girls were glad to see the warrior. It was the main knight named Arnold. He apologized to the princess for being late and asked to leave this work for him. The knight swung his sword and asked the Lord to get ready. But his blow was intercepted by a young warrior. The warrior was surprised that the main sword of the kingdom stood before him. This was a worthy opponent. The warrior introduced himself as Zignal Gastria. He wanted to arrange a heart-rending fight to the death. Arnold clarified that the warrior in front of him was the current sword of the empire, right? The warriors began to fight. Each used his skills. The girls watched the fight from afar and discussed the fact that the warriors were equal in strength. Suddenly, a snake appeared from behind Arnold. Arnold froze but asked his opponent if he really wanted to intimidate him with such a move. Zignal shouted at his comrade not to interfere with his help. Now was not the time for his jokes. A huge warrior in black named Enz held a snake in his hand. Zignal turned to Enz and said, was this really the time for him to ridicule him as a swordsman? Warrior Enz replied that carrying out the Emperor's order was his priority. Signer said that Enz was just a tall summoner. The frightened princess hid in the tent and thought about Arnold staying outside. Arnold and Anna were thinking about something. The girls were discussing a plan that Arnold would distract the warriors, and they would run into the forest with all their might. Anna said that the princess's safety was the most important thing now. At that moment, one of the guard knights suddenly grabbed the princess and said that she would not escape anywhere. The traitors tied Anna up. One of the traitors told the other that the princess must not be touched. Anna screamed for the traitors to let her go. The main traitor asked Enz if he could take the princess's assistant for himself. Enz told the soldier to do whatever he wanted. The traitors dragged the girls in different directions. Enz told the Lord that he was entrusting the princess to him. How terrible it all was. Zignal and Enz were walking away from the tent. Zignal couldn't calm down and said that he hadn't finished talking yet. Anna couldn't understand how knights could betray their homeland and hurt the people. One of the traitors held Anna and told the princess to watch Anna become a woman. The princess closed her eyes and screamed for anyone, a deity, a demon, anyone, to help. Tears were streaming from her eyes. The main traitor dropped Anna to the ground and sat on top of her body. Suddenly, the protagonist appeared. He twisted the traitors' heads with a blow of his hand. The heads rolled as if they were cut off with a knife. The princess stood there in bewilderment at what had happened. She recognized Kai. Kai thought about how easily the soldiers broke from his blows because everyone considered him the weakest. In this world, everyone who has reached the age of 13 receives a divine blessing gift. Someone gets the Holy Sword, someone gets the King's Spear. And when the world is in danger, those with unique gifts appear. But the gift that Kai Heinemann received turned out to be the weakest and lowest in history. He considered himself the weakest in the world. Kai extended his hand to the princess and asked if she could stand up. Rosemary extended her hand and thanked him for his help. The warriors in black robes saw the monsters helping Kai and ran into the forest. The monsters greeted their master and Astaroth asked permission to deal with the trash. She held Lord Fracton by the jacket. Kai agreed. The princess looked at the protagonist and thought, is this really Kai? She heard about him from her close friend Rena. Kai-kun and Rena have been friends since childhood. Rena Groth has the gift of the Holy Sword. As a child, Kai was weak and simple-minded. The princess was surprised how he could defeat the soldiers because he has the weakest gift. The princess called Arnold and Anna. The bodies of Anna and Arnold were surrounded by strange bubbles. The princess thought that they were monsters. Kai calmed everyone down and said that they were not enemies, but healing slimes. He asked everyone not to move while the slimes were healing the wounds. Arnold noticed that the wounds were really starting to heal. Anna said that she felt much better. The slimes were healing all the wounded. The princess and Anna were happy to see each other and hugged. Anna shouted the main thing that the mistress was safe. Kai called all the slimes to return to the victory book. Arnold was surprised by the capabilities of MC. Kai explained that formally this is not considered a summoning. Fafnir started to be capricious like a little child. She wanted to be praised too. Kai praised all his monsters for their good work and said that they were great. They were not just subordinates to him, but friends. Arnold saw the enemy and asked what kind of pathetic sight this was. Warrior Ends said that it doesn't take much intelligence to hold back one girl. Zignal added that that's why they had to do everything themselves from the very beginning. The princess saw the Empire soldiers and said that they had returned. Kai and Zignal stood opposite each other. Zignal turned to MC and was surprised that he was still there. He offered to fight with the Empire sword itself. Kai did not understand why he was so upset. Zignal asked Ends not to interfere. This time, he would definitely kill his opponent. Kai assessed his opponent and realized that his stance and posture were one disappointment. The princess was worried about Kai. Arnold held her by the shoulders and asked her not to stick her head out because it was dangerous. MC bent down and picked up a branch that was lying at his foot. He said that the opponent did not deserve to point his sword at him. He usually uses a stick for training. Zignal got angry and said that this was great. He rushed into battle. Strike, hold. Strike again and hold again. So much energy was generated from the blows that an explosion occurred. The warriors flew apart in different directions on the field. Anna did not understand what kind of power Kai had, that he was fighting with the Imperial sword with a stick. The princess asked Arnold why the protagonist was not affected by Zignal's attacks. Arnold thought and answered that the leading hand was too excellent, a new series of strikes and holds. Kai was sure that it was pointless to continue the fight because there was a gap of tens of thousands of years of training between them. The princess was surprised that the gift was in training. The more they fought, the more Zignal began to get angry. Kai threw the sword aside with a blow. The sword entered the ground up to half the blade. Kai understood that the opponent had a talent for fencing, but it is worth considering why the previous Imperial sword entrusted this title to Zignal. Ends was very angry. Zignal was upset that he lost the sword. He seemed helpless to himself. Ends was seething with anger. He said that in order to prevent the danger to the Empire, he would kill Kai here and now. He summoned the Spirit King Ifrit. Flames appeared all around, and the Spirit King towered overhead. Ends allowed the use of human mana and ordered to burn everything to the ground. Everything around caught fire. The warriors in robes ran in all directions. They did not understand what Ends was doing. Kai stood confidently in the middle of the field. He said that the pitiful flame of the Spirit King was no problem for him. Kai summoned Jirmekal from the Book of Victories and asked to put the Spirit King in his place. Jirmekal is a monster in the form of a huge mammoth, but he walked on two legs. He crushed the Spirit King with one foot, as if putting out a small fire. Jirmekal called Kai a great lord and said that he was immensely happy to be summoned. When Kai asked to teach the Spirit King a lesson, he replied that the wish would be fulfilled. He instantly extinguished all the fire. Kai called the monster back to the Book of Victories. Ends begged Kai to stop. He promised him that if Kai reached the Empire, he would be rich and respected. But Kai waved his stick and Ends was cut in two. The protagonist said that there was no point in listening to someone who used his people as bait. He called his subordinates Faf and Astaroth and said that there was no need to stay, they had to go. Lord Fracton shouted stop. He begged Kai to come to them under the command of the future king, Prince Gilbert. Arnold pulled the tied-up lord by name. But he did not calm down and continued shouting that, with the power that Kai possessed, if you cooperate with the prince, you can live freely. MC replied that he was not interested because the royal family discriminated against people by blood and gifts and called all those close to him pests. Anna was outraged by the words she heard. She loudly shouted back at MC to watch his words. He is making fun of the royal family of Amelia? Although he was a savior, he cannot be forgiven. Faf and Astaroth stood up for their master. Rosemary asked her assistant to stop. Anna did not understand why the princess stopped her. Rosemary explained that everything was fine. For the first time, she met someone who thought the same way as she did. Both the royal family and the aristocrats, if everyone participated in the affairs of the country, regardless of their gift, together they could create a better state. This is her dream. Kai asked again, does this mean that she, a princess, will stop being a princess? Rosemary answered that even if this is so, she does not mind. She made a decision and appointed Kai, who served her first girl of the empire, Rosemary Lotto Amelia, as a royal guard. Everyone was very surprised and reminded the princess that Arnold is her father's protector. Rose said that among the royal court there is no one she can trust. Kai is not interested in wealth or glory, but his strength to break the emperor's sword. There is no better option. The princess extended her hand and said that she wanted Kai Heinemann to be her guard. If he agreed, he had to swear and kiss her hand. Kai took the princess's hand and said that until she found a real royal guard, he could play along. Their hands intertwined in a strong handshake. Rosemary said that she was counting on his help. Astaroth chuckled that the master was constantly getting into trouble. Kai told her that if he followed the princess, he would be able to fight strong opponents. Fafnir smiled and said that she would recognize her master. The princess wrote a letter and entrusted this letter to Arnold. He was heading to the city of Bars. Arnold was supposed to give this letter to the princess's friend, Renee. In the letter, she told how Lord Frankton attacked her, conspiring with the Empire. The princess thought that Renee would be very surprised that her childhood friend Kai-kun dealt with all the Imperial soldiers. The protagonist asked the princess why she was smiling so much. She replied that nothing like that. They were sitting in a local eatery and she looked at him thoughtfully and with a smile on her face. In the letter, she wrote that the protagonist was a very reliable person, and now they were moving together. Now, they were staying at the Papra Inn. The protagonist asked if it was the king who ordered them to wait here for a few weeks. She confirmed and said that it was necessary until everything calmed down in Bars. And in general, she was so glad that he agreed to be a royal guard. If it weren't for him, she would have had to ask the holy swordswoman Rena Groth. Our MC thought about it. His friend Rena, who received the gift of the holy sword, joined the team of heroes and is now training in the capital. Is that why he feels that he must protect Rose, since they are friends? The princess asked him if he would not want Rena to be in such a dangerous position. He answered that she was his friend and he wanted to protect her, right? Rose agreed with him and apologized. He said that it was better than her hiding something from him, and asked her not to forget that he was a royal guard for a while. She confirmed and said that she was still grateful to him for it, and asked if she could ask him for one more thing. Fafnir and Astaroth were sleeping peacefully, and the dog was with them. Kai entered and loudly told them to wake up. Astaroth jumped up and, awkwardly covering herself with a sheet, asked what happened. The protagonist said that they were all going to explore the city together. At the same time, they needed to go shopping. Astaroth's sheet slipped off, and Kai saw a woman's body. He asked in surprise that Astaroth turned out to be a girl. Fafnir laughed loudly, and the dog barked. The princess and Anna came to the noise. Anna asked what the noise was about. And Rose wished everyone a good morning. Fafnir answered her in kind. While the princess was doing Fafnir's hair, she asked if she could look for ingredients for a cake in the city with Kai. Fafnir was surprised. A cake? And she asked Rose if she could cook too? Rose confirmed and said that she was still far from Kai. She wanted to thank them for that occasion. Fafnir was very happy. Kai called Nemiya from his book and told him to guard the princess while he was in the city. Nemiya obediently agreed. Fafnir waved goodbye to the princess. Anna asked Rose if everything would be okay. Rose replied that if she hadn't done that, he would never have left the inn. He would have stayed to protect her. He only pretends to be a simpleton. In reality, he is serious. Papra is a town in the middle of the Great Silka Forest. Hunters from all over the world gather here. Trade thrives on the red fruit, the Papra fruit, a spacious place where beasts come together. The protagonist remembered how his mother, who was a hunter, always said that she wanted to come here with him at least once. He dreamily thought that one day he himself would become a hunter and be able to save money. They heard some noise. Astaroth asked what the noise was. Kai suggested going and taking a look. Fafnir asked where the fen went. That was the name of the dog. They made their way through the crowd. There, the seller showed and told Mr. Getty that this was the best Papra fruit grown this year. He asked the gentleman to try it. The gentleman aristocrat grinned and thought. Some guy in the crowd noticed. Did you see the mage behind that nobleman? And the second one told him that the mage used some kind of magic to make the fruit rot. The aristocrat got angry. What the hell was that? That the fruit was completely rotten. The aristocrat shouted that he was Getty, and he was instructed to choose gifts for Prince Gilbert. Forcing him to eat rottenness was the same as feeding it to His Highness. He shouted that he would set the whole city on the seller. The seller begged for mercy. He said that it had nothing to do with it. Astaroth and Kai thought at the same time that the aristocrat and his retinue had spoiled the fruit themselves. The aristocrat did not calm down and threatened to prepare for the fact that all the townspeople would be beheaded for disrespecting His Highness, or they would settle with 50 million. The people were outraged that the city could not collect such a large sum. Kai thought that Frankton and the Amelia aristocrats were hopeless. Astaroth told the master that it was worth preventing this. Kai replied that he knew it. A guy from the crowd called out Count Getty by name and said that this would not do. The protagonist recognized the two who had noticed the magician. The first said that he was the leader of the Coin Guild of the Four Saints, chosen by Mashiro as the hero, the sharp sword of Cider. And the second introduced himself as the deputy leader, the sage Cobber. The aristocrat was surprised. How is that? The same famous guild of the Four Saints? However, the townspeople will not get away with it anyway. Cobber said that His Highness Gilbert is a kind man. He will not wish suffering on people. Cider asked not to forget that they are from the Coin Guild, and asked the aristocrat to calm down. Getty snorted with displeasure and said that he can give in to this guild, and asked the seller to provide normal fruits next time. Someone in the crowd said that he felt relieved, and another was glad that such a good coin guild. Astaroth whispered that she thought it was a farce. The Count and these coins could be accomplices. The protagonist wondered what they were up to. It was good that they didn't interfere. Fafnir kept looking and calling for her dog named Fen. Someone from the crowd approached the guy with the fruit on his back and called him an ungrateful beast, and another said that his father angered the Count with his fruit. The third one said that he was half beast, so he didn't notice how they rotted. Another said that no one was going to buy Papra fruits anymore. The beast was indignant. How would the farmers who grow them live then? The first said that he had no way of knowing, and someone else wished for the beast to die. The guy with the tattoo on his face was flexing his fists and said that he could help with this. As long as his Zarba family was alive, they were causing trouble. They surrounded the beast. He called them a group of parasites. Fruits fell out of his backpack, and they started crushing them. He fell to the floor and thought that he and his father grow top-quality Papra fruits. How is it that they can cause trouble? If only he were as strong as hunters. The guy with the tattoo raised his leg over the beastman and said that the same thing would happen to his head. The beastman closed his eyes and braced himself. Suddenly, Fen appeared from somewhere and started growling. The beastman was surprised that the dog was protecting him. The tattooed one was surprised. What kind of dog? And ordered to crush it. The protagonist screamed for Fen to stop and not to let out flames in the middle of the city. The guy with the tattoo and everyone else were surprised. Fafnir was glad that Fen was found. The dog apologized for running ahead. Everyone was surprised. A talking dog? One of the guys who attacked the beastmen said that they, tourists, should not meddle in local affairs, and the protagonist saying, "Then get it from the leg," hit him hard. The crowd of attackers was surprised. The tattooed one said that this is what they needed, and ordered his people to attack. The protagonist summoned a fireball and a water dance. He said that he would leave the tattooed one alone. With one attack, he instantly destroyed the rest. The beast-like one could not believe his eyes. How cool, everything happened in one moment. The tattooed one sat on his butt and stuttered, called the protagonist a monster. Kai put a healing slime on the beast-like one's head and offered to say thank you to Fen. The beast-like one thanked him. Kai commanded Astaroth and Faf to take the boy to Rose and hide him. Astaroth obeyed and asked, "But what about the master?" Kai turned to the tattooed one and ordered him to take him to his boss. "This city seems to smell of rot from the inside. Something is unclean here." Some time has passed. The princess had already baked the cake and was treating everyone. Fafnir was very surprised and happy that it smelled so delicious. Anna said that it was delicious. The princess boasted that she had successfully used the oven in the dining room, and asked, "What happens if Kai won't return from the investigation today?" Astaroth confirmed and said that the master was too good-natured. The princess thought, putting a piece of cake in her mouth. And she wanted him to eat so much because he gave her the recipe. Fafnir came up with an empty plate and asked Rose to make more. She said that she wanted more. The princess laughed and agreed. At this time, in the caves northwest of the Silka Forest, a few kilometers from Papra, someone was reviving something, and ordered to follow his order and absorb everything to the last. And Kai, being in a completely different place, seemed to sense something bad. Anna yelled at Kai Heinemann, "How dare he treat aristocrats like that?" He was embarrassed, and Anna continued to say that even if he was a royal guard, why did he decide to interfere in the city's affairs without permission? The princess tried to stop Anna, but Anna did not calm down and yelled that he was dragging the princess into danger and she would not forgive. He apologized, but said that the conspiracy involved aristocrats associated with the royal family. Kai turned to Rose and asked, even though she was a princess, she would not remain silent, right? She asked in surprise, how could she help? He said that he wanted to gather people and hold a meeting of the beastmen. Everyone was surprised. The next day, all the beastmen gathered, and Kai began to tell. The basis of the prosperity of trade in the city of Parpa is high-quality products produced by beastmen. Aristocrat Getty wants to take away the land and establish monopoly. The Coin Guild want to raise their reputation. Parasites, bandits, do everything for money. Their interests coincide, and they intend to drive the beastmen out of the city. And there is evidence of this. The protagonist's assistant spy projected what he saw. The conspirators Cider, the Earl and the Mayor were sitting at the table. Cider told the Earl that there was a great show at lunch, and the Mayor too. The fruits were rotted with magic, but it was convincing, right? The Earl answered Cider, no one would think that they were in cahoots. Cobber said, in a couple of days, the bandits who infiltrated the city will carry on attack according to the plan, and then it will be the turn of the Coin Guild. The beastmen watched and listened, and could not believe all this. Cider said that they will show how they will save the city from the rebellion of the beastmen. They will capture all the beastmen and sell them into slavery. And the bandits will cover their tracks, you just have to pay them again. And there was a call to drink to Prince Gilbert. The protagonist explained that the parasites had told him everything, the whole plan and the secret meeting place. They had promised to be obedient and asked for mercy. Beelzebub, Kai's loyal subject, a professional in interrogation and torture. He demonstrated the leader of the parasites. One of the beastmen recognized him. The beastmen admitted that the mayor was cold to them. They could not believe that the famous guild was involved in this. Force the bandits to attack the city, falsely accuse the beastmen and drive them out of the city? They could not believe it. Anna whispered in Lady Rose's ear that they would not have enough time to ask the king to send troops. The princess answered. Kai told her that he would take everything upon himself. One of the beastmen said that this was stupid talk and he was leaving. Another asked what they should believe. The third said, what if it was true? The beast-like being saved by the protagonist remembered that his father and mother had already collapsed from worry. No one would believe such horror. The protagonist stroked his hair and asked what he wanted. The boy thought for a moment and clenched his fists. He said, they won't allow the fruits of the Papra to be exploited. He wants to protect the city from those idiots. The other beast-like beings looked at him and were perplexed. One of them asked if the Papra fruits produced by the Zarba family had ever gone bad. The boy replied that this couldn't be, they were always fresh. Another of the beastmen remarked that he had thought it was all strange even in the square, and someone else shouted, we will not forgive. Everyone began to think about what to do next. Kai told the boy that all this was the power of his family's reputation and his influence too. The boy's name was Shiro. He thanked Kai-san. The protagonist said that there was no need to thank him. They could protect their city themselves. One of the girls apologized and said that most of them were farmers, women, and children. They did not know how to fight and defend themselves. Someone asked what they could do in just a couple of days. Kai replied that he could deal with the bandits alone. However, he would not be able to continue protecting the city with them any longer. If the beastmen did not show that they were capable of defending their place themselves, then there was no point in all this, right? For those who are ready to fight for their freedom and future, he will spare no effort. And he asked, who is with him? The princess stood puzzled. What was he planning? A few days later in a cave in the middle of the Silka forest, the guy said that reviving the demonic beast Tauti and sending it to Papra, for them, Tio, it is a piece of cake. The girl told him, 100 million is not a cheap deal. Do everything properly. The guy said, a few more hours and Papra will turn into ruins. Unlike them, weakling demons, they have no reason to fail. The third interlocutor shouted, how dare he belittle Mrs. Neal? The girl, also known as Mrs. Neal, demanded that the altercation stop. The guy said that he was working on behalf of Jirma, and using magic he ordered those who accompanied Neal to melt. They did not even have time to say anything. Neal wanted to object, but the guy said that she was an important sponsor, so he would let her live. She thought that he was using the power of words in a scary way. The guy demanded that she leave while he was in a good mood. She was offended and ordered the rest of her escort to evacuate to Bars. All this was seen and heard by the spy sent by Kai. He returned and reported that unknown individuals, demons, were going to attack the city. The protagonist stood with his team on the roof of the building. Kai told them that it seemed like they came for the smell of the holiday. He thought about it, looked down and said, okay, it's time to see the results of the beastmen's training. At the same time, the bandits, pretending to be beastmen, were going to attack them. The eldest of them said that he allowed them to loot everything they saw. The bandits were happy with such an order. After some time, one of them approached the house and decided to start with it. The beast-like boy shouted to the bandit to stop. He was surprised and swung an axe at the boy. Shiro extended his hand forward and the bandit fell unconscious. Fen was glad that Shiro succeeded. The boy said that it was cool. He just did as Kai-san taught him. A few days ago, after the meeting of the beastmen, at this training, Namiya said that he would help anyone who wants strength, anyone. He will show how to become a warrior in a short time. Norn said that she would give them time. Of course, during the training, time will go 500 times slower in the square. Fafnir also gathered a group for training. She cheerfully said that those who want to chop down opponents should call her teacher. Namiya supervised the entire training process. First, physical strength, run 500 kilometers. Then 500 sets of push-ups and bends. The protagonist taught a strategy for resistance. According to him, the number of bandits is not comparable to the number of beastmen. He showed them the technique, and said that if they use it, they are guaranteed to emerge victorious. It is important to demonstrate strength to the opponents and the whole city. It was already late at night. At this time, the mayor and the noble were resting. Getty laughed and said that the mayor chose a beauty again tonight. A beast-like girl stood in front of him. He demanded that she pour him a drink and grabbed the girl by the leg. She dodged and kicked him in the forehead. The mayor stood surprised as the count flew away. The beast-like girl told the mayor that he did not just trample the Papra fruits into the dirt, he did it to all the beast-like ones. Then there was a sound of impact. Shiro and Fen ran in search of the bandits. Shiro shouted that they had already laid down many bandits. Fen confirmed his word. This means that they will succeed. They caught the bandits, fought with them, and tied them up. Shiro tried his best. He was glad that they would save the city with their own hands. Astaroth stated that the bandits were weaker than they thought. They all stood together on the roof and watched everything that was happening from above. The princess said that the beastmen did it quickly, very quickly. She thought the plan was absurd. Well, it's good that it was. The protagonist told her that it was too early to relax. She asked what that meant. He had already jumped down and told her to watch for herself. People were running out of the neighboring houses. They were surprised at what kind of noise was happening in the middle of the night. Were the beastmen and Coin arguing? At that moment, Coin and the beastmen, led by Kai, met. The Coin leader called them dirty beastmen and said that they had conspired with the bandits and were planning to attack the city. He introduced himself as the leader of the Coin, the sharp sword Cider. He would punish the beastmen. Shiro thought that the Coin would be stronger than the bandits and said that they had been set up. Aren't these your bandits? Or rather, a group of bandits dressed as beastmen. He showed them the immobilized bandits piled up in a heap. The Coin were very surprised. They didn't expect to see such a thing. The protagonist approached one of the bandits and asked if the Coin had ordered them to attack the city. The bandit said in a trembling voice that it was. They had ordered them to act on behalf of the beastmen. One of the Coin asked if the beastmen really wanted to get rid of them and take all the glory for themselves. However, the townspeople wouldn't believe the bandits' babble. Right? One of the people said that they wanted to believe the Coin. But if you think about it, why would the bandits pretend to be beastmen? The protagonist said that the beastmen had caught all the bandits. If the people found out about the betrayal, everyone would answer the same way. The Coin were to blame for this. Cider grabbed the sword that was hanging behind his back with his hand and said that Kai had done all this behind their backs. He demanded the protagonist to state his name and said that he would be the victim of a sharp sword. The second of the Coins, using magic, summoned a thorny web and directed an attack at the protagonist, thereby tying his hands. The protagonist calmly replied that he was Kai Heinemann. He jerked his hands, on which there was a thorny weave, and the Coin fell to the ground, unable to stand on their feet. Cider was outraged and called the protagonist names. He asked what the hell was that? The other Coin were very scared. Kai will knock out Cider and Cabber with one blow. The protagonist replied that he only helps a little bit those who need it. He asked the Coin Guild if they wanted to become heroes. He could help them with that. At this time, the following events were unfolding in another place. Johnson asked if this was really the Kai. The hunter confirmed and said that he was the son of the huntress, Maria Heinemann, the same Kai who had the gift of the weakest. They talked while running, as they hurried to help the princess. The hunter said that Kai now serves Princess Rosemary. Johnson asked how he was involved in the commotion in the city. The hunter replied that he was on a team with Maria and saw their swordsmanship. However, he found it hard to believe that that weak boy dealt with the parasites. Johnson said that Ms. Rose had first-hand information. There was no doubt that Kai was in the city. The other day, a letter from Miss Rose arrived at the hunting guild, asking for cooperation. The letter said that Count Getty, the mayor, and the Coin Guild had united to destroy the Papra beastmen. If the Coin Hero Guild is involved in such a deception, it is a serious issue affecting the reputation of the hunting guild. First, we need to catch the organizers of the conspiracy, and then find out what happened in the city. This was a conversation between the head of the investigation, Johnson, and an A-rank hunter named Orga, both from the Central Hunter Guild. The two of them ran to the mayor's house and saw people from the Coin Guild. They were surprised and could not believe that the Coin brought a beast-like girl to the mayor's house. Johnson ordered to seize the count or the mayor, and he himself decided to find the leaders of the Coin and ran on. Orga understood the order. He loudly called the mayor and said that they needed to talk. Immediately after this, the mayor flew into the wall next to him. He was very surprised at what he saw. What? The beast-like girl had already given both the mayor and the count a beating. Both were already lying motionless. She saw Orga and asked if he was from the guild that Mrs. Rose had called. He confirmed her words. She said that he was just in time. She had to go to her comrades. She asked him to take these and pointed to the count and the mayor. Orga told her that he would do so. She waved goodbye to him and said that if he hadn't come, she was already going to rely on Kai's subordinates. The hunter waved back and thought, Kai's subordinates? At this time, sitting on the outer wall of the Papra, Johnson saw that a group of coin had gone beyond the perimeter. He could not understand what was going on here. A hunter approached him and asked for permission to report. Johnson asked what was going on. The hunter reported that a group of bandits had indeed attacked the city, but most of them had been captured by the beastmen. Johnson realized that this meant that Mrs. Rose had been telling the truth. Where did the beastmen get so much strength from? According to the stories of the residents, the coin were involved in a conspiracy and they were being gathered outside the city walls by humans. The hunter did not have time to finish speaking. He saw something. Johnson screamed, "Is there a monster? What is going on in this city?" Anna said that she heard something. The princess was standing on the roof in the company of Astaroth, Anna, and Fafnir. She said, "Oh, this Kai, always doing as he pleases." At this time, Kai just jumped off the roof. If only he could explain a little what was going on. Fafnir said that someone came. Astaroth answered her, "Well, okay." Jones opened the door and shouted, "Mrs. Rose?" Fafnir, the princess and Anna turned around. "Is it really you?" Johnson apologized and said that they came from the Central Guild at the request of the princess. He said to forget about him and asked Princess Rose if she knew about it. The princess made a surprised face and asked what he was talking about. One of the four world demons, Tao-Ti. His seal was removed. Kai was stationed on the outer wall of the Papra a few minutes before Tao-Ti appeared. The Guild of Coin was standing below. Cider asked why Kai gathered them here. The protagonist replied that he would first heal their wounds, and then they, Coin, since they wanted to become heroes so much, should protect the city from the attack of monsters. Coin did not understand what he meant. At that moment, monsters appeared. Someone shouted, "Who is that?" They appeared from underground. There were many of them. They were growling menacingly and making other scary sounds. Horror appeared in the eyes of the Coin. Could these be Tao-Ti monsters? Perhaps neither the heroes, nor the four guilds, nor the army of the Amelia Kingdom could defeat them. Cider screamed, "Coin alone definitely couldn't fight them, right?" Kai replied, "Their job as heroes is to defeat monsters. So show your courage." The Coin, terrified, ran back to the gate in the wall, but something was blocking them. They asked, "What is this? You can't enter the city. There's an invisible wall here." Kai replied that one of his subordinates surrounded the city with a wall. The demons won't enter the city, so they can calmly fight them here. Cobber pleaded with Lord Kai. He said that it was not his fault. It was all Count Getty and the mayor, and Cider and them. He was simply dragged into this. Cider yelled that it was Cobber's plan. Cobber told him to shut up. Meanwhile, the monster flew up behind Cobber, opened its huge mouth and devoured him. Drops of splashed on Cider's face and clothes. He grabbed his sword and yelled that he would deal with this monster, rushing to attack it. Kai watched what was happening from above and said, "Either win and survive, or lose and die. Try your best." Suddenly, the bell rang on the tower, and someone shouted from there that there was an attack of demons in the city. All residents should not leave their homes. Johnson and everyone else watched what was happening. He wondered why the heroes needed to remove the seal from the legendary beast, or was it Kai? However, Kai Heinemann, it seems, led Cohen outside the walls so that they could fight the monsters. The princess replied that if that Tao-Ti was real, then the hero's strength would not be enough and a terrible catastrophe would happen. She ordered Johnson to do his utmost to protect the civilians. He accepted the order and said that he would join forces with Orga. The princess turned to Anna and ordered her to hurry to contact Arnold so that he could send the royal army from Bars. Anna accepted the order. The princess heard a voice that said that there was no need for that. Fafnir was happy when she saw Girmakal and praised him for his good work. Orga asked who that subordinate Kai was. Girmakal said that he had brought the people who were lying in the city. The princess was surprised to recognize them as Count Getty and the mayor. And then she saw Orga. Orga hesitated. He was ashamed. Johnson asked if everything was okay with him and if he had come to his senses. Girmakal said that this hunter, Orga, passed out when he saw him. And then he turned to the princess and said that they did not need help, and there was no need to do unnecessary things. The princess answered, "But because of Tao-Ti, the entire territory could be destroyed. We must be prepared for anything." Astaroth intervened in the conversation and said that there was no need to worry. The princess said that Astaroth should also take cover. Astaroth was indignant and answered, but the master said that Lady Rose could just watch from here. At this time, Cider and the other Coin were fighting monsters. Cider wondered where they had gone wrong. They were Coin who had received recognition from the hero Mashiro. They had connections with high-ranking nobles. They were striving for wealth and glory. A hero cannot be just a name. What they need is true courage. They must risk their lives for others and stand against something great. He shouted to the other coin that they needed to show their courage. How late he realized this. He fought another creature and encouraged the others that they would not fall. They could do it. Coin is our way out. Guys, don't lose heart. Live. The other coin supported him. But suddenly, everyone froze. The true form of Tauti appeared in front of them. Cider looked dumbfounded. He had come this far. Cider sighed and braced himself. It was a very scary monster. It had bat wings, a monkey head with horns, and snakes hung down instead of a beard. One of the snakes rushed at Cider. But Shiro suddenly appeared and kicked the snake in a jump, and the snake flew away. Cider was surprised. The beastmen suddenly joined the coin. He asked them why. Shiro asked not to misunderstand him, but they were not helping. They just wanted the culprits to be punished. The protagonist said that these were the same people who wanted to sell them, the beastmen, into slavery. Was Shiro sure? Shiro replied that he was completely sure. If they left them to die, they would become the same as them. The main thing for them was to protect the city. Fen told the protagonist that Shiro was determined. The protagonist confirmed this and said that he would then leave coin to the Hunters Guild. Kai turned to Shiro and said that he would watch their battle from above. Shiro thanked him for this. Kai said that instead of these pseudo-heroes, they should save their city themselves. Let's begin the second round. The beastmen, along with coin, rushed to attack the monster. The people in the city saw the flashes and went outside. Johnson, the princess, Anna, Astaroth and Fafnir stood and watched the battle. The princess could not believe it. The beastmen were fighting back against Tauti. The girl who was brought to the mayor was called Saryupa. She shouted, "If the source is destroyed, the monsters will no longer appear." She asked everyone to focus their efforts on it. They pounced with renewed vigor. Kai noticed a man hiding nearby in the bushes. The protagonist thought that he was distracted by the small monsters and did not notice him at all. Could he be the mage who revived Tauti? At that moment, Tauti called Germa and asked him for help. The mage hissed at him and in a moment was on Tauti's head. He turned to the monster and called him legendary, but pathetic at the moment. The monster asked him to just kill these bugs. The mage told him to shut up and said that he would use this thing he found in the ruins. The sphere of dominance. It was a pity to waste it, but he would try. The mage put the sphere on the monster's head. A glow formed in that place. The monster asked, "What the hell is that?" Mac answered, "Bingo. Strengthening." The monster had even more strength. One of the beast-like said that the monster had restored its tail. Sarupa replied that this was strange but asked everyone to keep their eyes open. With its snake tail, the monster scattered everyone in different directions, and then directed the snake at Sarupa. Shiro saw this and shouted a warning at her. Then he himself jumped with an attack on the snake. Didn't work at all? All the coin are fighting too. Cider tried to hold the snake and shouted for Sira to run away. Sira realized that his attack didn't help and was surprised how that was possible. At that moment, Kai flashed like lightning, grabbed Sira on his shoulder, and carried him to a safe distance. Saryupa was glad that Sira was saved and thanked Mr. Kai. The protagonist said that they had worked hard but they had enough. He turned to Namiya and ordered him to evacuate everyone inside his barrier. Namiya immediately followed the order. Kai said that he would do the rest himself. All this was supposed to be a story about how the beastmen stood up to protect their hometown. The magician sat on the monster's head and saw that there was still one left. Kai quietly took out his sword. The magician shouted to Tautha to quickly deal with him and teach him a lesson. As he shouted to the mage, that like the mage, the protagonist is a stranger here, and he shouldn't have gotten involved in the slaughter himself. Kai took out his sword. Sword control? Second form. Everyone saw how the protagonist handled the sword and opened their mouths in surprise. Kai used the attack speed lightning. Seeing this attack, Johnson, Anna, and the princess opened their mouths. And Fafnir and Astaroth laughed when they saw their surprised faces. Kai hid the sword. The magician did not understand what happened. "Tauti, what's wrong with you?" The monster did not move. Kai said that Tauti was already dead. The magician was surprised, and the monster went limp. There was an explosion, and only a puddle remained of the huge monster. The magician was sitting in the black liquid and did not understand how MC was able to destroy Tauti with one blow. He was very annoyed that the protagonist interfered in the battle. Kai told the magician not to even think about the fact that they would pity him because he was too stupid. The magician begged to stop and said that he gave up. He personally had nothing against Kai, and in his head the magician was shocked that his opponent was simply a monster. The magician sat in a puddle and said that he could tell MC everything he knew, and at this time he held the divine sphere behind his back. He thought that if he could use his trump card at the right moment, then using the power of words he would be able to fight the enemy on equal terms. Kai listened to him attentively and said that he knew about the sphere in his hand behind his back. The protagonist asked to use it if the enemy changed into something. The magician jumped to his feet and said that as a reward he would instantly end MC's life. The magician took the sphere in front of him and pressed it to his chest. He said that he was summoning Germa. He ordered the monster to take control of his mind. Tentacles began to crawl out of the sphere in different directions. A mask appeared on the magician's face, his teeth became sharp like a beast's, and his eyes turned white. The magician was happy with the power he had acquired. MC could not cope with this power. Kai was motionless and did not understand why the enemy did not calm down. The magician ordered the monster to attack, because he did not have much time. Jirma ordered the right hand to explode. The protagonist stood motionless. Magic clots were flying towards Kai from all sides. The magician ordered the monster to strike, break, grab, tear. Kai pulled out his sword and stopped all the clots of energy. Even the curse, word of the spirit, is just a clot of magic. If this magic is weak, then the magician did not pose a threat. Kai calmly asked that this was all the magician could do. The magician did not understand why his power did not work again. After all, this was the most real power of the spirit. The magician furiously rushed towards MC and shouted that he did not understand why the power did not work. Kai calmly answered, because the enemy was insignificant. A loud sound and many flashes of light were heard. The magician took advantage of this and hid behind a large tree. Kai turned to his assistant named Vels, who had flown in, and said that he would be punished for interfering without permission. The assistant agreed with the words of the owner. MC asked to beat all the information out of the magician, and then do with it what he wants and show the enemy what hell is. Wiltz understood the master's order. All the observers of the battle were happy. Kai asked everyone if it was time for them to go back. The princess looked at Kai and said that she was glad that he was her guardian. Kai reminded the princess that it was temporary. Rosemary said that she understood everything. However, as long as Kai was next to the princess, she would always be next to him. MC lay and thought that Rosemary was not only reckless but also said strange things. He remembered their recent conversation. Kai said that Rosemary did not want to put her friend in danger, and he wanted to protect his childhood friend. Considering the situation with Rena, was he really that attached to her? Rena was dear to him, and he cared for Rose. Perhaps these were the remnants of feelings from the past that still had not disappeared even after 100,000 years. Kai went to bed, as always, surrounded by his assistants. He thought that he would participate in everything until a new guard was found. Little would change. He still lives in this world with his friends and does what he wants. That's all. Fafnir snuggled up to the owner and asked if he liked the cake. Kai agreed. It was very tasty. Everyone was sleeping peacefully. The capital of the kingdom of Amelia, Aramgard Castle. In one of the halls, a cry was heard. Kitsch. A young man in a dark robe with long blonde hair walked toward the cry. A girl with long black hair with a flower was running towards him. It was Kai's childhood friend, Rena Groth. She told the young man that Rosemary had met Kai and they were heading to Bars. The young man was Kai's childhood friend, a master of magic named Kitsch Steinbarg. He was very surprised by this news. Rena said that she read a letter from Rose. Kitsch took the letter in his hand. He recognized the handwriting of Mrs. Rose. He read the letter and said that indeed, Kai was accompanying Rose. Rena said that she was worried about both of them. They also needed to go to Bars. She ran to organize a carriage for the trip. Kitsch tried to stop her. He asked her if she understood her situation. If they went to Bars now. Rena said that if she disguised herself, then everything would be fine, and asked Kitsch to quickly get ready and come. Kitsch thought that they would probably get a scolding from the teacher. At the same time, in the ghost town, the Lord's residence. In the middle of the huge hall, on a beautiful carved chair, sat the Lord in a hat and held a book in his hands. He told his subordinates that Jirma had died. Someone from the crowd asked if this was true. The Lord said that his presence in this world had faded, and there was no doubt. Another young man asked, "Does this mean that there is someone in Papra who can kill him?" The Lord agreed. The Lord stood up, adjusted his hat, and said that everything was decided. It was clear what to do next. The girl with two ponytails asked that they hadn't finished anything yet. The client could be finished off later. The young man with a pirate scarf on his head said, "We must kill everyone." The Lord stood in front of his gang and gave each one a task by name. Vinegar to find out who killed Jirma. Salt to hurry with the activation of the ruins. Sugar and pepper to go and destroy the Papra. Losing is unacceptable for Key, no matter who they face. And again at the same time the residence is inside the caves. In the throne room there are servants in black capes with their faces covered. In the middle of the hall on a huge throne sits a beautiful blonde. She said that even Tauti could not cope with the hero. One of the servants replied that he watched until the very end. Number 33 did not return. The case did not require control, but he wanted to help Neil, and again there were victims. Neil, one of the close associates of the Dark King Ashmedia. She must be strong until this is over. The girl mentally asked for forgiveness from the King of Darkness. She stood up and resolutely said that everyone should listen to her. Continue to search for a victim. This is necessary to activate the ruins. Someone who will become a unique victim for activation. The servants understood the order. The girl asked to watch her from the afterlife. She will finish her mission and follow the king. Even deeper into the darkness. Divine beings from Babylon, the palace of Babylon. Checking the ruins is complete. A creature similar to a lion in sunglasses with wings said that they have found the gate for their army of demons. First, he himself will go to that world, and then he will open the gate for Lady Tiamat. It was one of the evil army of Pazuzu. The girl sat on the throne in a fluffy outfit and asked to do it quickly. She could not wait any longer. Tiamat's evil army. Rina was happy that they were going to find Kai-kun and Rose-chin. The lord of the Kyo faction said that they would not leave anyone who went against them alive. Neil said that she would protect Ashmedia no matter what. Tiamat said that they would finally play. Kai stood next to the carriage in which Princess Rosemary was sitting. He looked ahead into the unknown. Soon after leaving Kabura, Arnold joined the princess. He said that permission to return to the capital would be ready in about 2 weeks. Until then, they would have to stay in bars. Having said this, he quickly left. It seemed that he still had a few days to deal with matters related to the aftermath of the events in Totetsu. 2 weeks of delay, but that was even convenient. Kai also had business in Hars. Kai looked into the distance. The Hunters Guild in Bars. It is close to the capital and is a key point on the way to the Silka Forest, an ideal place for hunting. Hunters from all over the world come to Hars. There is always a lot of work in such places. The Hunters Guild, which connects work and hunters, is simply irreplaceable. For Kai, who wants to travel the world without restrictions in the future. Obtaining a hunter's license, which allows you to quickly earn money, is a must. Kai admired the city and thought that Rose and the others have already found a place to live. He should also register as a hunter as soon as possible. Johnson stood by the window and looked at the square. Among the people, he saw Kai. The protagonist entered the room where there were many hunters. Some were drinking beer, some were chatting, some were studying information. Hunters are divided into 6 ranks, from a newbie E to a superhuman S. The rank increases by completing tasks and orders. To rise above rank C, you need to pass additional tests. Well, as soon as a hunter registers, he will be able to freely take tasks corresponding to his rank from the guild board. Kai approached the counter and pressed the bell. He said that he wanted to become a hunter. Could he register here? A girl in a beautiful hat approached the counter. She said that she could help with registration. The registration fee is 10,000 durs. Is everything okay? MC replied that he understood everything. He began to remember that somewhere in the depths of the box with items he should have the required amount. The girl was surprised at what he saw and asked what it could be. She inquired that MC had a box with items. The protagonist replied that he did not have such skills. The girl must have made a mistake. He completely forgot that it was a rare skill. MC handed over the money for the registration fee. The girl apologized and confirmed receipt of 10,000 durs. It was careless. If he stands out, he can get into trouble again. Rare items and skills must be hidden. The girl pointed to the ball and asked permission to check the protagonist's gift and status. She asked to touch the items that were in front of MC, and they would display the information. Kai thought that he was holding the status at an average of 100 with the sealed god gloves. Compatibility with the gift should be lowered to the beginner level. He decided to set the average strength to 12, and just in case put on a ring that hides all abilities. He asked if this would be better. He touched the items and waited for the result. The girl smiled and offered to look at the result. She was very surprised. This was the most useless gift in the world? She said it so loudly that everyone around heard and turned around. The girl apologized for voicing the result so loudly. Kai said that everything was fine. No wonder she was so surprised. One of the hunters said loudly for everyone to look at this guy. He really is the most useless in the world. The girl asked Hunter Leg to stop, or she will report to the branch manager. The hunter said that Mia was too serious and that she had no need to protect this traitor. The girl felt very ashamed for having voluntarily revealed someone else's information. MC was sure that it was better for everyone to think that he was weak, so there would be fewer problems. He calmed the girl down and told her not to worry. Thanks to her for spreading the information. Mia asked if MC liked it when he was bullied. The protagonist politely asked to continue registering. Mia looked at the status and skill board. Strength 12. She apologized again for loudly announcing the result. The status was strange, just as Kai wanted. Good thing he was wearing a fake ring. He apologized for forgetting to take off the ability enhancement ring. Then he took off the ring and asked to check the result again. Random hunters overheard this conversation. Joyful Kai left the administrative building. So much trouble for a simple registration. He remembered how Mia said that registration was completed today. You will need to come a few more times for the final registration, and gave him a temporary registration card. Before leaving, she whispered in his ear that it is better not to show this ability enhancement ring in public and to be careful. Kai walked along the city streets. The way home was long, but what can you do? Suddenly, he was surrounded by strangers. Now he understood what the administrator warned him about. A little earlier in Johnson's private room on the top floor of the guild, Ilsa Harnish, a B-class hunter. Ilsa asked why she should be the one to follow this boy, an A-class hunter who, according to rumors, refused a promotion to S rank. What kind of surveillance is this of Marius Heinemann's son, Kai? Is this overprotection? Johnson pushed her out of the office and said that there is no use explaining. It is better to see with your own eyes. Kai is now at the reception desk downstairs. You need to go there immediately. Ilsa went down the stairs and muttered that we will take a generous payment for this job. She saw a young man talking to Mia at the counter. Ilsa overheard the hunters talking about how the kid at the counter was the weakest and most useless in the world. He was unlikely to achieve anything great. Everyone was just whispering about it. Two hunters were discussing how the guy had a ring that enhanced abilities. The second one answered, "What kind of ring?" If it was true, it was a national treasure level. One of them wanted to get this ring to please the boss. Ilsa started following. She saw 4 people approach Kai. Now she understood why Jones ordered to watch this kid, or rather, to guard him. One of the hunters called out to Kai and called him the most useless in the world. Then he ordered to give them the ability enhancement ring. Robbery in broad daylight. The Harz Hunters Guild has completely sunk. Ilsa remembered when she was standing in the administrative building, Mia called out to her and asked her to keep an eye on the young man who had just left the guild for a while. Mia was worried about him. Ilsa smiled and realized that she couldn't refuse to protect this boy anyway. The crowd was getting closer to Kai and Ilsa rushed to help with her blade. She is a B-class hunter, agent. She was afraid that she would lose him. Kai struck one offender, then the second. Ilsa stopped and didn't understand what was happening. Kai used force and twisted all the hunters in the blink of an eye. Ilsa was confused and hid around the corner. She didn't understand how he could see through her vanish skill. It was not a joke. At that moment, Johnson ran up and asked if she saw everything. Ilsa asked what was useless about it. Johnson answered, "It's not just combat power reinforced by equipment. It's something more. That's not his real power. He's a monster." Ilsa said that couldn't be true. She asked about Johnson wanting Kai to clean up all of Barz's dirt. Kai and the others had their own scores to settle and they would soon clash. Ilsa didn't want to incur his wrath. Johnson said that was exactly what the assignment was for. A few days later, one of the houses in the elite district of Barz. A man with a beard asked about the fact that his subordinates ran away like cowards every time. The beaten ones made excuses that they each gathered people and attacked him, but his ring was too powerful, they just couldn't handle it. The man shouted at them not to make excuses. Pathetic people are not needed in cards. This man's name is Mashiro, the hero, the leader of the 4 Holy Guild cards, Mayor Hig. He asked his subordinates if they found out anything about the guy. One of the servants wiped the blood from his face and began to read the information from a piece of paper. The guy is Kai Heinemann, with the gift of the most useless in the world. He's involved in that incident in Harburg that everyone is whispering about. Mashiro realized that this is the one with whom Moneta could not cope. The guy continued to read. Moreover, there are rumors that the magical beast Totetsu that appeared was defeated by the local beastmen. But according to the evidence, it was actually that same Kai who defeated him. Mashiro asked, "So the ability enhancement ring really does have the power to defeat one of the 4 great magical beasts?" The guy agreed. It couldn't be any other way. One of the subordinates whispered that they would never be able to defeat this guy. The second one replied, "It was impossible." Mashiro finished his drink from the bottle and shouted for everyone to shut up. If he got his hands on such a ring, he would be able to surpass even these hated boars. Right, guys? Besides, he hoped that the subordinate had a plan of action. The guy agreed and said that if the village is not working, they need to find a weak spot. Lately, Kai often meets with a girl from the reception of the guild. He thinks they are close. Mashiro was happy and shouted that this is his weak spot. Mashiro continued that he doesn't care what methods he uses. Great. We need to take everything from this worthless kid and raise the name of their card. Everyone supported their leader. A few days later, annual carnival in Barca. Fafnir happily ran down the street and hurried the owner and Mia after her. Kai asked her to be careful. She agreed with him. Kai talked to Mia about how it seemed like Fafnir was going to go around all the food stalls. Mia said that Fafnir was very energetic and cute. Faf ate one kebab after another with appetite. Kai asked her not to stain the costume that Anna made. Mia offered Faf to wipe her mouth. Fafnir thanked her and offered to eat together. She shared her food with Mia. Mia smiled and said how wonderful, it was so delicious. Astaroth looked at Fafnir and did not understand how she even had an appetite in such a human crowd. Kai thought about Faf sharing food. She really got attached to them. Kai asked Astaroth if she was here too, wasn't she? Astaroth replied that she had only come to see what interesting things could be found. They noticed that they were being followed. Astaroth asked, "Are these the ones who have been trying to keep an eye on the master for the past few days, right?" Kai turned to Shirayuk. "It's better to be on the safe side." The girl in white clothes with her face covered replied, "Yes." She walked quietly through the crowd behind Kai and Astaroth. Kai asked them to find them and find out what they were up to. If possible, collect as many details as possible. He left the decision on further actions to her discretion. The girl understood the order and disappeared. The carnival continued. They all walked together at the fair. Fafnir tried different delicacies. Kai met Mia's gaze. She became shy and looked away. Evening came and the fair ended. Everyone went home. Astaroth thanked Mia for playing with Faf today. Mia replied that she had fun with Faf too. Kai mentally apologized to Rosemary and Anna. Rose can't just go to the party. She's not in the right condition. Anna is not the type to leave Rose alone and go have fun. Kai carried Faf on his back. She hugged him tenderly. Mia said it was as if she had a little sister. Kai remembered how Faf saw a poster about the carnival on the wall. She started to be capricious and shouted that she definitely wanted to go. Kai thought that they could go to the carnival. The whole city is one big area, it's easy to get lost there. Mia offered to show them the party. Her offer to accompany them really helps out. Kai said that he hoped that Mia would play with Faf again. Mia said, of course. She also wanted to talk to Kai. MC asked what she said. Mia was scared that she said it out loud. She tried to explain that when she talks to Kai, he seems younger to her. Kai clarified that according to the statement in the guild, he's only 15 years old, although in reality, he is 100,000 years old. Therefore, she can safely call him Kai. Mia remembered that her home is on the other side, so she suggested that they part. She stroked the sleeping Faf on the head with her hand and wished her good night. She waved her hand to everyone and said, "See you tomorrow, Kai." Mia walked towards the house, her cheeks turned red. Astaroth said that against the backdrop of the sunset, the color of the girl's cheeks suddenly becomes unnoticeable. Poor thing. Kai did not understand what Asta was talking about. Mia walked along the path and hummed a melody. The two watched her from the forest. Night. The moon shines over the sleeping city. In a large room with many tables, Kai said that these so-called cards are going to use hostages to blackmail him. All the friends and assistants were sitting at one table and drinking tea. Shirayuk replied that most likely it will be so. MC thought about it. Rosemary and Anna were scared. They had never seen Kai like this. Rose asked, were those the hunters who had been following Kai for the past few days? The protagonist exhaled and said, every time they attacked, he drove them away. Astaroth drank tea from a cup and said, but these are persistent people. Kai said that in order to avoid noise, he did not kill them, but perhaps it was worth doing so. Anna thought about Kai's words. Shirayuk said that recently these people kidnapped Mia Campanella, who broke up with the lady after the festival. She was holding the ear headband Mia bought at the carnival. Kai asked, was she just standing there and watching everything? Shirayuk is not one of those who will not move without an order from her place. Kai asked, what was she doing? The girl knelt down in front of the protagonist. At that moment, Nemesis appeared. Nemesis, one of the Alliance goddesses who obeyed Kai. She asked permission to take care of this situation. Her people were already watching the hostages and the cards. The hostages were protected, so there was no need to worry. Shirayuk was upset and said that there was no need for that. She would go and save them right away. Kai thanked everyone for their efforts and said that he would handle it himself. These were repeated crimes of the Four Saints Guild who were supposed to protect their people. Rose suggested sending troops from the kingdom to deal with the criminals. Kai said that there was no need to do that. He regretted that Mia was dragged into this. It was entirely his responsibility. He would handle it himself. Nemesia said that she thought that the master would say that. She didn't expect anything else from him. She bowed to MC and said that bandits are the enemies of women. They could not forgive them either. She asked permission to let her prepare the scenario for the destruction of the cards. Sarek didn't know what Nemesia had planned, but if it sent the cards to hell, she was ready to support her scenario. Nemesia stood up and thanked everyone for their kind words. The scenario was about to begin, or rather, was already on its way. The maid entered the room and gave Kai a letter. A little earlier, Mia was walking along the path and humming a melody. She had been thinking about Kai all day today. She was so grown up, thinking about her younger brother. She herself was embarrassed by her thoughts. She realized that she had caused him so much trouble by worrying and watching him every day. At some point, she realized that she had started to like seeing him. She told her thoughts to stop, no more. This was an abuse of power. Ilsa could be trusted with surveillance. She could handle it. She had to stop seeing Kai in person. She sat down on a bench under a lantern, raised her head and looked at the starry sky. She asked herself, would it be okay if she never saw Kai again? At that moment, two people ran up to her. They grabbed her by the arms and covered her mouth with their hands. The criminals tied her up, put her on their shoulders, and carried her away. Shiryuki saw everything, but she didn't have time to do anything. Mia was lying tied up somewhere and calling for help. She couldn't move, but she understood that it was a church on the outskirts of the city. A male voice from the darkness said to her, "Hello, Mia Campanella." When the man came closer, she recognized him. It was Mr. Ma. The whole gang was standing around her. She didn't understand what they were planning. Mia said that this was violence against a guild employee. Even the Guild of the Four Saints would not escape punishment. Mishito explained. This guy Kai, who had such powerful items from nowhere, was their target. Mia was only needed to punish him. She had only recently met him, and now they were needed to lure him out? Kai is so kind that he will definitely come to save her. She didn't understand why they would kidnap her if he wouldn't answer their call anyway. One of the guys told her not to lie because they had already figured it out. She was currently in a romantic relationship with Kai, and were planning to get engaged soon. Mia was surprised that she and Kai were lovers. She couldn't understand what these thugs were talking about. Mia remembered the conversation with Kai at the reception desk, when she mentioned that she also wanted a ring to raise her status. Then her work would go faster. Was that really it? The thugs were laughing because, judging by her reaction about the engagement, they had hit the nail on the head. Now it would be fun to torture her. Mia didn't understand what they were going to do. One of the thugs extended his huge hand towards her and told her to enjoy the last moment while they played with her. Mia screamed, "No, the bastard should not come near her." But the thug smirked and said how naive she was. He tore her clothes, and the crowd asked for the show to begin. Mishiro screamed that he couldn't wait to see Kai's face when he found out that his beloved was maimed and killed. Mia called out to Kai in her mind. The bandits touched her face and giggled. They asked her to cry and scream louder. Mia blamed herself for the bandits paying attention to Kai. It was her fault. Mia got angry and hit the bandit in the nose with her head. She screamed, "Don't touch her." The bandit's nose started bleeding. He got angry and hit her in the cheek. He called her stupid. Mia fell from the blow. In her mind, she apologized to Kai. Tears flowed from her eyes. She begged him to never come here. The bandit said that if he killed her right away, it would be no fun. He tried to be gentle. Kai appeared out of nowhere. He grabbed the bandit's hand and held it tightly. The bandit was confused. When did he manage to appear? Mia lay on the floor and thought that the last thing she wanted was for him to be here now. They can't meet. But somewhere in her thoughts, she wanted to see Kai. Kai wished death on the bandit. He was so angry that the roof of the church flew into many pieces. MC tore off the bandit's arm. The crowd stood and said his name. They didn't understand. When did he manage to appear? Mishiro ordered to quickly surround the protagonist. Kai threw the severed arm into the crowd. He bent over Mia's body and apologized for making her wait. He covered her with a white robe. Now everything is okay. She can rest. White robe reflection protects the owner from any physical and magical attacks, automatically reflecting them. Kai gently ran his palm over her cheek. He understood that he dragged her into his problems. Kai said that he had plenty of free time to fight. The bandits had sabers and swords in their hands. The bandits pounced on him from all sides at once. Kai didn't lose his head. He repelled one attack after another. One of the bandits said, "How can he be alone against so many?" Mishiro didn't understand how this worthless guy became so strong. This was the power of the ring. Now he wanted it even more. Kai killed all the bandits and looked at the leader, but Mishiro decided to retreat this time. Kai said that Mishiro sent him an invitation and now he was going somewhere. Kai remembered how the maid brought him a letter. It was written Kai Heinemann. Mia Campanella is in our hands. Report to the abandoned church in the southeast of Barce immediately. The hostage will be exchanged for a ring of ability enhancement. Do not resist. Otherwise, the hostage's life is not guaranteed. Anna screamed that the bandits immediately switched to threats. Astaroth said that for the gang, they work quickly. Then Kai told Nemesis that he didn't know what she was planning, but he would go where he was called. Nemesis reassured him that everything was going according to her plan. He asked his friends not to interfere. He would handle it himself. And so he stood there holding a sword in his hands, which was pressed against Mishiro's back. He asked if the guard boss Mahig was in front of him. Kai didn't understand how Mishiro wanted to leave unharmed after angering him. The protagonist repeated the question. Does he think he can leave unharmed? Kai stood behind him, aiming his sword at Mashiro's hand. Mashiro glanced sideways at him. There was a pop. Kai didn't even understand what happened. Mashiro stood there holding a girl wrapped in a cloak in his arms. He burst out laughing and said that the situation had changed. Mashiro showed his hand with rings and asked the protagonist if he saw it. And then he said that this was the power of the teleportation ring. The ability enhancement ring that Kai has will also become part of Mashiro's collection. Kai thought that Mashiro couldn't even tell the difference between a real one and a fake one. Mashiro demanded that the protagonist take off his gloves and give him the ring. He put a knife to the girl's face and said that if Kai didn't give him the ring, he would kill the girl. The protagonist agreed and began to take off his gloves. Astaroth and Nemesis were standing behind the door. Kai took off the ring and said that Mashiro would regret it. Would he be satisfied with this arrangement? Astaroth and Nemesis looked at each other behind the door, the master taking off the gloves of the ceiling god. They suddenly burst into the room and Astaroth told the master that she was retreating. Kai agreed. Mashiro was surprised by this arrangement. The protagonist said that the battle was unlimited. This hadn't happened for a long time. Astaroth called the others stupid people. Kai gave Nemesis the signal to act. Nemesis dissolved into the floor, then appeared next to Mashiro and took the girl from his hands. Mashiro did not even understand how it happened. He screamed that an ambush was mean. Kai threw him a ring. He said, "Here it is, take it. You, who took a hostage, are talking about meanness." Mashiro caught the ring and looked at it with bulging eyes. His assistant said that this was definitely the ring that made this worthless guy so strong. Mashiro raised his hand up and screamed that he is the strongest in the kingdom, not in the world. Kai told him that at his core, he is the same as those who rely on gifts. Even Cider was a more worthy warrior than them, nobodies. Mashiro called him an insolent puppy and demanded that he shut up. He said that he no longer needs the protagonist, and Mashiro has nothing to fear now. He gave the order to the others that they had to torture the protagonist with all their might. The people surrounded Kai. Mashiro let out a war cry to attack. Kai calmly prepared himself. True sword school, single blade style. Everyone around rushed at the protagonist. Kai used the first form, Deathline, and everyone around did not even understand how they died. Mashiro was left alone. He did not even see Kai strike. The protagonist stood calmly. Mashiro discovered with horror that there were no fingers on his hand. Blood was gushing from the place where they had been. He looked at Kai and asked, did he slip him a fake? The protagonist answered, this ring was definitely what Mashiro wanted. Kai said that he did not wear any ability-enhancing items from the beginning. Mashiro asked for help. Kai swung his sword and said that he was not so weak that he could lose to him. That was all. The place where they met was illuminated by a glow. Kai wiped it off the face of the earth. He left Mashiro and his assistant alive, groaning and writhing in pain. The protagonist called Belzet, he answered. Kai ordered him to make these scum taste hell. Push them to the limit, but leave them alive. Belzet obeyed. Nemesis's voice came from under the severed arm. She materialized with Mia in her arms and said that she was very interested in this matter and brought these people. Johnson and the Huntress stood next to her. Kai recognized them and said that the assistants would take the survivors to the Hunters Guild. Johnson said that it was right. He watched everything that was happening. The card was in pieces, almost destroyed. Mayor Hig would most likely be hanged for all his crimes. Kai asked Nemesis to explain why she allowed the card to kidnap Mia. Nemesis answered the master. It was important that he save Mia alone. She and Astaroth had only prepared the ground. The protagonist replied that he didn't understand. Astaroth said that there was no use explaining to this idiot. Nemesis asked Kai to take Mia back to her dorm. He said that he didn't mind, but wouldn't it be better if the guild members took her? Astaroth insisted that he should take responsibility and take Mia himself. The protagonist had no choice but to agree. He put Mia on his shoulders and ordered Astaroth to clean up the place. Nemesis looked around and asked Astaroth, "Is this the master's true power?" Astaroth replied that the master hadn't used even 1/100% of his true power. Nemesis asked her, "Does this mean that the master has no enemies?" Astaroth confirmed it and said that the master was very similar to her former master. He needs something to keep him in this world other than fighting. Kai carried Mia on his shoulders. After some time she woke up, moved and asked if it was him. He asked if she was awake and said that he would take her home now. He apologized for scaring her and asked if she was in pain. Mia answered that everything was fine. She didn't even know how to thank him. Kai answered that there was no need for gratitude. She was dragged in because of him. She hugged him tighter and was very happy. Mia said that her dorm was close and she could walk there herself. He put her on her feet. She turned to him. He said that gratitude was not necessary, but still thanked him for coming for her. Mia hugged him tightly. Kai replied that it was a matter of course, and she kept hugging him and thanking him. They stood like that for several minutes, then they parted and waved to each other. Mia told him that they would see each other again. He agreed. Nemesis and Astaroth watched all this through a special prism. Nemesis was disappointed with the master. She said that it was necessary to see Mia to the door, and even go into the room. It would be nice. Astaroth agreed with her. Ilsa called them and said that she would also like to talk to them. They were surprised. Astaroth said that they were the ones who shared fate with Kai. Nemesis confirmed her words and added that they would not harm anyone whom the master wanted to protect. They asked not to worry and disappeared. Johnson said that he did not have time to thank them, but he asked the protagonist to help cleanse the Hunters Guild of rot. It looks like a hornet's nest has been opened. Ilsa said that their surveillance was quickly revealed. Kai's power is limitless. Frankly, it's scary, but he saved Mia. Johnson said that he knows him as the son of his old friend. He does not know what changed him, but his heart seems to have remained the same. Ilsa replied that she also thinks that Kai and his friends cannot be evil. At this time, Kai has already returned. Anna saw him and warned Rose. The princess said that apparently everything was resolved safely. This is good. Anna noticed that although he saved an ordinary person, Kai made too much noise. He has no awareness of himself as a royal guard at all. The princess reminded Anna that he is only a temporary royal guard whom she asked to help. Then she asked Anna. She was also worried and waited for him all night, wasn't she? Anna replied that she simply could not leave Rose alone to wait for Kai. He always acts at his own discretion. Rose does nothing but worry about him. That's all. The princess said that Anna was simply tired. It was already morning and time to rest. They both lay down in their beds. Anna thought before falling asleep that Kai trusted Rose completely. But did she trust him? Morning came. Anna was walking and puffing like a steam locomotive. She was very angry with Kai Heinemann. Anna demanded that he take his words back. She asked if he was claiming that the king and Rose were to blame for the plight of the kingdom. The princess tried to calm her down, but Anna was militant. The protagonist said that he would repeat it again. Discrimination and poverty were rife in the country, and corrupt nobles and rulers blinded by power did whatever they wanted. The king and Rose, who could not properly lead the people, were responsible. They cannot be justified from accusations of incompetence. Anna asked, is he calling them incompetent? Rose always thinks about the people. The princess called Anna loudly and demanded that she go and cool down. Anna got upset and ran away dissatisfied. The princess apologized to the protagonist. They tried to discuss politics. Kai asked if they could leave this girl alone. The princess replied that when Anna is in such a state, it is better to leave her alone. Fafnir entered and told Rose that it was time for a snack. The princess agreed and suggested that Kai take a break. Faf said she wanted cookies. The princess agreed and said that she would bake a lot of cookies now, but Faf should help her. The princess said that they had just run out of tea for cookies. She turned to the protagonist, apologized, and asked if he could tell Anna to buy regular tea. Kai said that he would tell her. He realized that the princess wanted to give them a chance to reconcile. Anna was walking around the city. From the bridge, she listened to a child shouting something down by the monument. The child ran up to the monument and turned to his grandmother, saying that Ares was here. In the kingdom, a person's virtue is judged by the blessing received from the holy god of war Ares. Blessing is the basis of all values. The boy told his grandmother that he also wanted to receive the great gift and become a knight. The grandmother replied that this was very good. May Ares bless him. Those without a blessing are considered incompetent and traitors. They are told behind their backs that they have the most useless gift in the world. Beastmen without a blessing are also considered an inferior race. They should be ruled by people with high virtue. Anna comes from an ancient line of holy knights and nobles. She was taught that the values created by the nobles of the Earth Kingdom are the norm. But are these values really the right ones? The more she strives to be a proud knight, the more doubts arise. She heard whose voice moved the beast. She saw that it was a slave trader. The reality of the Earth Kingdom where discrimination reigns. She created an image of a knight that she is proud of. That is why she was afraid to face this contradiction. And the slave trader shouted that they were in front of a client, and the slave needed to stand up. The slave apologized. Anna thought, shouldn't a knight protect people? She knew that he should. If she had been inexperienced that day, she would not have been able to protect Rose. She would probably still be turning a blind eye. But now she can think and protect. What would she do if she found herself in her arms? At this time, the slave trader swung his whip. Anna screamed for him to go away. Who even thinks of beating a child with a whip? Anna grabbed the slave trader's hand and did not let him hit. The slave trader was indignant. What happened? He asked not to interfere with him advertising his product. He asked what was wrong with whipping an animal. People are people, and animals are animals. Anna covered the beast-like child with her back. The slave trader recognized her and said that she was from the kingdom. They decided that beastmen were traitors and non-humans. What can they, who created discrimination, still say? Anna was outraged and asked, "Is he kidding?" Suddenly Kai appeared. He told the slave trader to wait. The protagonist explained that Anna simply does not know life and apologized for her. Anna was seething. How can she not know life? The slave trader explained that they were simply interfering with his business. He just wants to show off his product. He does not want scandals. Kai understood him, took out a bag of money, and suggested getting down to business. The protagonist said that he had 80,000 eagles. The slave trader was delighted and said that they seemed to understand each other. But 80,000 was only an advance payment. He showed him the slave's luxurious hair and said that a silver beast child was rare. The slave trader said that he needed 2 million eagles. The protagonist asked again, 2 million, right? Kai agreed and said that he would pay later. Until then, the slave trader must treat the child with care and not harm him. The slave trader gave him 30 days to pay the full 2 million. He said that if Kai did not pay, then he would not return the advance payment of 80,000. Kai said, "Without objections, we agreed." The slave trader confirmed that the deal was concluded. Until the transfer, the child will be like a valuable commodity. The slave trader turned around and left. In conclusion, he said, "Thank you for the purchase," and that he was waiting for the day of payment. Anna grabbed him by the collar and shouted that he bought a human with money? How dare he trade humans in front of a knight of the kingdom? Kai didn't understand, because it seemed like this girl was angry about the discrimination against beastmen, which is right, but her thinking was completely superficial. The protagonist told her that it was the fastest way. In the Amelia kingdom, slave trading was legal. Taking it by force would be a crime. It could put Rose in a dangerous situation. Is that what Anna wanted? Anna thought about it. Kai said that in order to protect the child, ransoming him with money was the best solution. Anna thought for a while and let go of his collar. She said that she understood everything. The protagonist told her that Rose asked him to buy her favorite tea. He doesn't understand tea and he doesn't have any money right now. Anna was indignant at him. Oh really? He easily throws away all his money on a stranger slave. What a fool he is. Kai said that the problems of this country cannot be solved just like that. It is difficult to do it alone. Well, he can be proud that he acted thinking. And how would he have acted? And then he added, calling Anna by name, that she did well. She was surprised that he called her by name for the first time. Anna said that they should go shopping faster and return to Rose. At home, they told the princess everything. She summed up that to save the slave, 2 million eagles are needed. Anna said that she was there and all this happened. The princess said that she fully supports the ransom of the child. Kai looked at her in surprise and asked if she was a masochist. This could lead to a scandal or even a threat to her life. Anna asked again, and what is a masochist? The princess was already boiling like a kettle. The protagonist said that he cannot take money from the treasury, but he needs advice on how to earn a large sum in 30 days. The princess said that she is happy to help him. He rarely asks for help. She has one idea. Uncle Hunter's heirloom, the resurrection ring, can be sold. It is not related to the people's taxes. Kai asked if it was a gift from the uncle who took care of her. She confirmed. Kai and Anna both said no. The princess said she had a suitable way for the protagonist. The sacred martial arts tournament, held every 4 years in Luzahala. This is the largest tournament in the kingdom, and if you reach the finals, you can easily get the prize money. After some time at the sacred martial arts tournament, the protagonist felt that he had fallen into the princess's trap. He came to register for this tournament and received a pre-qualification participant card with the number D98. On the way to the tournament in the carriage, Kai read the tournament rules. He stated that he did not like this combat format. If you make a mistake in control, it will be difficult to advance further. According to the rules, murder leads to disqualification. The princess said that everything will be fine. Kai won't lose. Otherwise, she'll still sell her uncle's ring. Kai reminded her. He already told her that it was impossible. The protagonist thought that unfounded trust was only annoying. They arrived at the tournament. There were a lot of participants. Kai felt someone's aura. It was a tall and muscular guy in a t-shirt. He asked if the protagonist was strong. Kai thought that the guy reminded him of Nemiya when he first met him. The guy asked the protagonist his name. Our hero introduced himself as Kai Heinemann. The guy said that his name was Zach and that his group was B31. Kai showed his card and said that he had D98. Zach understood and said, "See you in the final tournament." The protagonist said that he hoped so. Zach added, of course, if they both passed. Kai thought that it would be interesting. At this time, in Lord Besfall's mansion in the ghost town, Weiniger reported that she found out everything about Kai Heinemann. The Lord was sitting at a huge table and studying some papers. She said that, to be honest, she didn't understand anything. The Lord was surprised and asked that even her surveillance skills didn't help. She asked not to call it surveillance. Around the moment Kai took off his glove, her farsight stopped working. Well, but it is a fact that he single-handedly destroyed one of the 4 guilds. She saw with her own eyes how the church exploded. The Lord asked Weiniger, the most useless in the world? What did she even see? She said that in any case she was watching him as expected. The Lord laughed and said that most likely Kai Heinemann is on their side. First, he will cut off Kai's Achilles heel. She deftly pulled out a knife and happily said that she understood everything. Sometimes you need a lot of money to live. The opportunity to earn money is a good experience for him because he wants to live freely as a hunter. While they were riding in the carriage, he realized that you can make money at the tournament. But is it okay to delay returning to the capital like this? The princess said that Arnold was currently busy sorting out the aftermath of recent events and couldn't return. As long as he wasn't there as a guard, they wouldn't be allowed to return to the capital. He was surprised and asked if it was because of him. Rose told him not to worry. After all, he had saved not only them, but many other people as well. When she dropped him off, he felt like he had fallen for her bait. But there were no other ways to quickly get money. It was better to finish this quickly and quietly. Well, at least he had completed the registration. He thought it was time to meet Rose and the others. At that moment, someone shouted, "Hey, good for nothing! How did you get here?" Kai turned his head in confusion. There were 3 people in front of him. The one in charge asked how he dared to show himself in front of them, a loser. Another noticed that Kai had a participant card in his hand and told the senior instructor about it. Another student asked if he was participating too. The senior instructor said that Kai's participation was a slap in the face of his school, and he demanded that the protagonist immediately leave the tournament. Kai remembered that these were the same ones. The senior instructor of the Heinemann school named Shiga and his students, the same ones who began to despise him after learning about the gift. The protagonist asked, did they come to the tournament to raise the prestige of the school? Kai said that he himself left the Heinemann clan. Their school's technology is no longer used, so they have nothing to dictate. Shiga screamed that the protagonist's very existence is a stain on the reputation of their school. A student named Riku turned to the senior instructor and said that there was no point in paying attention to this loser. He was going to lose shamefully anyway. One of the students shouted after him, "Wait for our exploits. They will prove the power of the Heinemann school to the world." The senior inspector called the protagonist a talentless person and told him not to dare disgrace the Heinemann name. 2 days later, the day of the first qualifying round of the Sacred Martial Arts Tournament, the participants are divided into groups of 100 people. According to the rules, the one whose bandage is removed loses. The judge asked if everyone was ready. When the gong sounds, we begin. And the gong sounded to mark the beginning of the fight. Some of the fighters stood and read prayers. Someone had already bared their swords. One of the fighters told another that he would give the bandage for 10,000 eagles. He agreed and bought it. Kai thought about it, so there were mostly newbies and vagabonds here. And there were no celebrities on the list of participants. Kai imagined how he could win. Theoretically, he could just knock everyone down here, but this is a guaranteed exit to the next stage. Although no unnecessary problems are useless, it is better not to stand out. He heard voices from behind. Oh yes, this is a talentless person. They were students at the Heinemann school. One of them said that if they beat the talentless one, the senior instructor would praise them. 2 girls couldn't decide who would knock out the protagonist. Kai thought that 3 participants of the Heinemann school would be just right. They surrounded the protagonist and argued among themselves who found him first. Then they began to argue who was stronger, and who unfairly wanted to take all the glory. Kai deftly and imperceptibly removed their bandages. Finally, they decided that they would beat him together. And then they saw that the talentless one was not nearby. He was moving away from them and holding the bandages in his hand. They thought that he was giving up. Kai approached the judge and asked if he collected the bandages. Could they just give them away? The judge hesitated and said that only 1 minute had passed since the start. She saw 3 bandages in his hand and gasped in surprise. Stuttering, she apologized and began to check the lists. Kai said that he was Group D98, number 6 out of 32, Kai Heinemann. He handed her the bandages and asked if this was enough to pass. She told him yes, he passed. The 3 students whose bandages Kai had removed only now noticed that they were gone. Many spectators saw what was happening. The organizers of the tournament were also watching. One of them turned to Lord Aaron and asked if he had seen this young man. The Lord wondered what kind of movement that was and who this guy was. Lord Aaron was the organizer of the tournament and the head of the Cayenne school. He was told that this was the grandson of Elm Heinemann, the master of the Heinemann school, one of the two greatest schools in the kingdom. Aaron remembered Kai. They say he has the gift of a mediocrity, but that is impossible. Elm's grandson, yes, it is Kai, even though he has changed. Why is he participating? And this level of skill, this is a level available only to the chosen ones. The Lord said he heard that Kai Heinemann was expelled from his family and school because of his gift. Why do this to such a talent? The Lord's assistant said he had heard about it too. It was unclear. The Lord wondered why Elm hid his abilities. Maybe the talent of a talentless person was a cover so that other organizations would not poach him. Didn't Elm know that Kai was participating in the tournament? If Kai no longer belongs to the Heinemann school, then the Lord can take him to the Cayenne school without any problems. With such skills, he is guaranteed to become a royal card, an elite warrior of the kingdom. Aaron was already disappointed in the youth in this tournament. But it turned out that a secret champion had sneaked in here. The finals will now be much more interesting. The Lord's assistant agreed with all his words and thoughts. That same night, in the dormitory for the participants, the senior instructor was very angry. He was angry at Kai Heinemann and shouted that he would pay. The students stood with their heads down in guilt. And the inspector didn't stop. He couldn't understand how the talentless guy had used the trick. The guy suggested that the protagonist used some kind of object to steal their armbands. One of the girls claimed that Kai had definitely cheated. The second said that they had asked to check him for fraud, but they had been refused. The guy turned to the teacher and said that it was unfair. This talentless guy was mocking their efforts. He suggested that they all find him and beat him up together. He shouted that the vile cheater must be punished. Riku stopped everyone. He said that in the next qualifying round he would fight Kai himself. He would beat him fairly and expose his deception. The audience would become witnesses, and together with the exposed one, we would wash away the shame from those who took off the headbands and the Heinemann school. The guy replied that Riku was right. Riku continued to say that no matter how much this loser cried and screamed, he would beat him so much that he would not be able to stand up. Now the Heinemann school is divided. The main branch and the secondary branch are fighting for the place of the next master. If they expose Kai, who is a disgrace to the main branch, and destroy him, then their branch will gain an advantage, and their reputation will skyrocket. The head instructor chuckled, put his hand on Riku's shoulder, and said that they are counting on him in the selection round. Riku proudly told them to wait for his triumph. At the same time, a comma in one of the bars of Bars, a guy was shouting that Kai Heinemann will pay. He was slamming a mug on the table and cursing with foul language. It was Rygeister, a D-rank hunter. He said that Kai is the most useless in the world. The second one wondered what Mia saw in this Kai Heinemann guy. It was Hook, Raga's partner. He said that he was much more suitable for her. But they were often together lately, they seemed close. Raga was shouting that he was superior to Kai in everything, and he did not accept it. He got up from the table and asked someone what he was staring at. They answered, "But what about you? Go home, drunk, and sleep it off. And don't be rude here." Raga jumped up and shouted for everyone to attack at once. He would kill everyone. One of Raga's friends, with whom he was sitting at the table, stopped him and said that it was enough to cause trouble already. Hook started apologizing to everyone and said that Raga was just really drunk. He turned to Raga and said that it was time to go home, and that was enough for today. Friendly advice. Hook left the bar. Raga grabbed a mug, but it was empty. He thought, if only he had at least a chance. Someone came up to him, poured some into a mug, and said that he was all worked up, he needed to drink, and calm down. The man said that he was treating him. Raga asked who he was. He said that his name was Salt and that he had recently arrived in Bars. Salt asked if he could join in. Raga allowed him to sit down. Salt asked, "His name is Rygeister?" Then Salt asked another question. Raga is said to be the leader of the most promising team in the Bars Guild? Raga noticed that he was well informed. Salt told him that he needed to go to the ancient temple in the depths of the Silk Forest. Raga was surprised. An ancient temple? This is a place where even A-rank hunters are afraid to go. Salt confirmed that it was one of the unexplored dungeons. Rumor has it that there are countless treasures there. Let's split it in half. The perfect gift for that girl, right? Raga told him that he was only a D rank. The ancient temple requires at least an A rank. It's suicide. Salt replied that everything was fine. He showed him a beautiful amulet and said that with this amulet he would become an S-rank hunter. Some time passed. Fafnir screamed that the master was not playing with her, and she was bored. The princess objected and said that Kai had been busy with the qualifying tournaments lately. Kai also apologized to Fafnir. The princess said that they would also like to go and cheer for the protagonist, but they would stand out too much at the venue. Anna was looking at the tournament table and called Mrs. Rose. Anna showed that Kai had passed the second qualifying round, and if he won the third stage final tomorrow, he would receive the prize fund, they say, 3 million eagles. Kai grinned and said that this was more than they had planned. It would be good to win the third qualifying round. Either take the prize money, or lose on purpose and return to Bars. The princess said that they would cheer and watch him through the Astrator monitor. The protagonist approached Fafnir, stroked her head, and said that he would finish quickly and would be able to play with her upon his return. Fafnir was happy, and said that she would also try to protect Rose. The protagonist said he didn't mind. Anna coughed and said, "Well, hang in there." The princess then said that Anna had become such good friends with Kai. Anna told Rose that they weren't friends. The next day of the competition, the final of the Group D qualifying round, Mrs. Odo came and apologized for making everyone wait. The final of the qualifying round includes the rules of the previous rounds, and losing consciousness or going outside the arena is considered a defeat. This is a battle for survival. Only 4 participants will advance to the main stage, and now she said that 30 participants of Group D will represent. We are expecting bright performances. The protagonists thought that it seemed like there was no one who looked like a serious opponent. We must be careful not to accidentally kill someone. The fighting style is free, but it is still a competition. He remembered from the rules that killing an opponent leads to disqualification, and it is recommended to use wooden swords. Odo continued to tell, and noted that participants Fly and Sigma have already performed in the main stage. They are the main favorites of this selection. Next, Riku Salvatore will perform from the Heinemann Fencing School, the hope of the dojo of Master Elm. Whose fencing technique will he show? The protagonist recognized that guy. Oto named the last participant, Kai Heinemann, the Shinkai Fencing School. He is the owner of the gift of the most useless in the world. She asked the protagonist, "Is this true?" He confirmed her words. She was very surprised. Kai realized that she and everyone else were also making fun of him. Something like this had happened before. Sigma asked the host if her work disgraced the gifts of the participants. Fly supported him and said that this was disrespect for those who passed the selection. Odo bowed her head and apologized. Riku decided to stand up for her and said that the host simply told the truth. There was nothing to apologize for. This useless guy should not be here at all. Sigma said that it looked like this boy's weapon was not a sword, but his sharp tongue. Fly laughed and said that it looked like it. Riku got angry. Who was talking there? He would show everyone. The host happily said that passions had already begun to heat up. The final of the qualifying round of Group D was beginning. The protagonist figured out the desired layout if the strong participants began to knock each other out. A participant was rushing at him with a sword and shouting for the useless one not to get distracted. Kai calmly dodged and thought that maybe it would be easier to pretend that he had accidentally passed further. He closed his eyes and thought that he needed the prize money, and if he was lucky, he could push Zack into the Royal Guard. At this time, another participant was running at the protagonist with a sword again. He already thought that the victory was his, because Kai was standing with his eyes closed. At this moment, Kai thought that it probably wouldn't go smoothly.